she beautiful? I am very excited to be getting into a new reading journal for next year. As much as I am loving my current one that I, set up after the last one kind of filled up, it doesn't have the same feel to it. I don't know. There's something about this kind of cover that says reading journal to me. I know you don't have to have it in something like this. And I mean, a lot of people have it in like a square or maybe a B5 if they want a lot of real estate to write things down. But I think that this is the one I'm going with. We will see if it actually happens, but this is the one I'm kind of vibing with at the moment. We're not actually setting her up today, but we need to do the preparing stages, the pre-planning before the planning, I guess. I don't know. It's the stuff that you do to make sure that everything you want to have is in there. You don't leave anything out, so you can be as prepared as possible when you enter the new year. Your reading journal is set up the way you want it to be. All right? Yeah, it screams media journal to you, right? And I'm almost thinking like, do I want it to just be media, or do I want it to be kind of almost like a hobby journal so that then I can dabble in other hobbies and like capture my memories in here or something? But I am getting ahead of myself. Hello, gorgeous humans. It is such a pleasure to have you here. Let me know, what are you doing as we work through? I am going to be preparing for my next reading journal. So thinking about what I might want to include in here, what kind of things are going to be helpful to have, or anything I might want to like consider. 100%. I agree. It does look very hobbity. I'm like, this is how we roll in the Shire. So I'm very tempted to kind of lean into that with the setup as well. We'll see if that actually happens, but that's kind of what I was thinking. But it is a gorgeous cover. It is an older release from Archer and Olive, but they do have this kind of design or like a similar kind of style of thing come out pretty regularly now. With each release, it's usually like a different color palette and maybe slightly different designing on the front or whatnot. But this one is part of their everyday collection. So they have actually released this kind of style or like this design in multiple colorways, from my understanding, if my memory serves me correctly. But absolutely gorgeous. We also have similar designs to this on Tifosi as well. They have a lot of kind of like more intricate ones and whatnot, which I was kind of tossing up doing like, oh, do I go with that? Do I go with this? Especially because Tifosi offers a very good range of colors with the same design all at once. They don't do it as kind of like a separate release kind of thing. It's not like staggered, I suppose. But anywho, this one notably doesn't have anything in it right now. As gorgeous as she is not set up, so we're going to set her to the side. But the notebooks that we are going to be looking at today are going to be my current reading journal, my previous reading journal, my previous reading journal, and then also this guy, which is an R&D notebook or research and development. And that's because I've also set up a bunch of layouts in here that are related to reading journals, like things that you could put in a reading journal if you want to, just so that then I can make sure I've considered all my options, considered all my bases before I go and say like, okay, yep, this is my official lineup for the reading journal. This is what I'm going to be putting into it. I want to make sure that I have considered all of the things that could go in there first. But scooting these ones to the side, because before we even open any of those up, we need to prepare our battle station. And by that I mean prepare the space that we're going to be doing the want analysis. Are you sick of the want analysis yet? Maybe, but the want analysis is excellent and I shall continue to use it. If you haven't come across the want analysis, if you're new to that, want here stands for wins, aversions, needs, and try. All right, so wins, pretty obvious, maybe self-explanatory. This is the good stuff. This is the stuff that you've put into your reading journal previously that you're like, oh yeah, this works. I love this layout. I love the way it's structured. I get it and consistently use it. This feels good to have in my journal. Whereas aversions are the opposite. They are the things that haven't been working. Maybe they kind of suck. Maybe you had good intentions for them and it just didn't really get used at all. It's cool. Life happens. Journaling isn't that serious. It's okay if things didn't get used, but maybe in your next one you don't want to include it, and that's okay as well. When it comes to needs, though, this is kind of like future casting or thinking about like, okay, in the next period, whatever your reading journal is going to be for. For me, it's usually I'm aiming to make it last a year. We'll see. But for the next year, what kind of things do I maybe have that I would like to capture in there? Would it be like, oh, I really want to undertake a new reading challenge, or I want to undertake a new reading goal, or I really want to lean into reading more of insert genre here, or diversity reads or something. So maybe there's something that I can put into my journal to encourage me to do that. That's the kind of section for the needs, like what I would populate the needs section for. And then T is for try. So this is anything you've seen around maybe the internet or at a video or whatever that you're kind of curious about. You're like, ooh, that sparks my interest. That gets me a little bit like tempted. So we can put that down in the try section. That can also be for thinking about your aversions and your needs section and what you could test out or possibly use to kind of, I don't know, deal with that need or mitigate that aversion kind of a thing. So, I need to get all of my stuff set up. I do apologize for the slightly late start today. My breakfast was not prepared because past Jess didn't make any overnight oats. Escandalo. So I had to figure out something else to have for brekkie, and it took a little longer than I anticipated. Versions, which means my desk isn't as set up as it could be. So things are a little bit skew with cattywampus. So wins, aversions, we have needs. I'm going to put this a little lower, just a little bit. And try. Beautiful, right? You can actually go and kind of put like divider lines and stuff in if you want to, but this is my scribble book. It's fine if it's not super, super neat, as long as we get the ideas out onto paper. Now, as you're going through this, it is important to be honest with yourself because we want to make your next journal setup the best one yet. I want to do that for me. You probably want to do that for you. It doesn't need to be perfect. We're just going for the best yet type of deal. So if you're going through and you're like, oh, no, I actually did like this, despite the fact that I absolutely didn't use it and never thought to look back at it and rah, and you put it down as a win, and then you include it next year and the same thing happens. It's like, friendo, come on, right? If we give ourselves that kind of like opportunity to be honest, put it down as an aversion, maybe problem solve it a little bit, then we can put it down in the, aversions and find something to try that will actually help us with that area. So... And she says this, like, oh God, honesty. How much has she read and how much has she used her reading journal recently? Let's not talk about it, but we are going to flip through. So, having a cheeky, sneaky look, we're going to go to here. We have my nameplate page. I have actually been really enjoying a decorated nameplate page. This is not sufficiently decorated for my liking. So, I'm going to say that an aversion is a non-decorated inside cover. Doesn't mean that the journal has to come with like a pre-printed decorative inside cover. I don't even know if this one I'm thinking about even has one of those. Does it? Haha, she does. All right, so she's beautiful. She's gorgeous. She's the moment. But that's not actually what I mean when I say non-decorated. I mean like personal touches have been added, my personal flair or whatnot. I also appreciate the note that I can't be late because it's still Wednesday. Yeah, I'm like super early, right? Oh gosh, time math is the worst math for me, and time zones just trip me up so hard. Let's see. Oh, you're my very first A&O notebook, and part of me really wants it to be your journal, but a lot of me has FOMO. No, not the FOMO. It's okay. I believe in your ability to use your notebook. As long as you go in with pencil first, then, you can't go wrong, right? Well, I mean, you can, but at the end of the day, we also have ways to fix mistakes. So, hey, it just like makes the process a little easier. At least that's what I tell myself. I find it easier to get into a new notebook, being like, oh, I don't want to stuff it up. If I remind myself, like, start with pencil so everything fits. And we have ways to fix mistakes. We have the technology. So if I mess up, it's not the end of the world. It's all good. But non-decorated inside cover, that was a bummer. We want more of that. Then we are into the ratings. I enjoy having a breakdown of my ratings. So ratings reference. I'll just write ref because that's all good. But something I kind of want to try is an idea we actually have coming up in an upcoming video, which is coming out this weekend on the channel. If you're in a tier 3 membership, then you might have already seen it because you get early access. But this is a 2-way rating scale. So I kind of want to test that out. So 2-way rating scale, because typically speaking, when I'm reading, I rate based on enjoyment. That's the most thing. Like this is how my scale kind of works. Like 5-star, definitely a favorite. 4 is like, oh, this was really good. 3 is like, yeah, this is a positive mid. 2 is like, maybe not, and one is like, what even the actual was this? Like, no. So that's kind of the very loose vibes scale, the very important book evaluation system. I feel like it's fine, like it's perfectly good, but I have been kind of missing the slightly more analytical of thinking about the kind of quality of the piece of media along with my enjoyment of it. So I'm thinking maybe a two-way rating scale could work for that. But let's see. Oh, you're going to use the journal planner? Yes, we love journal planning in the journal planner. Stave off all of those mess ups. I find it's very, very useful, and I hope you find it useful too. If we get to it today, we might have a look at that and see what planning things in there looks like. Another thing that has been a win is having my media and hobby goals. Media goals. Because something I am thinking about, as a try, possibly a try, is having it more as like a hobby journal rather than a media journal. So media to hobby journal. Will she still call it her reading journal? Probably. Will she ever get over the fact that she can't spell journal? I swear, if I am talking and try to write the word journal, I always forget the N, so it becomes journal. I'm like, it's all good. I know what I mean. This is the scribble book. It's fine. So media goals, I enjoy having some goals for myself or some little kind of targets to hit. Most of the time, those goals are just for fun. They're not things that I hardcore map out or really kind of action plan, so I ensure that they're going to get done by the end of the year. But I like having some targets to see if I could hit them just throughout my regular media consumption. So I don't need anything in this journal that's kind of like goal planning related around those goals. It's just that I like to have them captured somewhere to say like, hey, this is what your goals are. We're going to move this slightly to the side so that we can see more of the notebook. There we go. Beautiful. Everything fits. Huzzah! Let's see. So the next one is my index. I don't mind having an index. I have found that I didn't have as many start of journal collections, so I didn't really need huge amounts of space here, which meant that I just ended up using every second line rather than every single line, which was fine, especially because we have a decent amount of space here. I did also start this a lot later in the year. So if we go back into my other journal a little later, the one that I started with the start of 2025, that one is chock-a-block full. The index was not sufficient. It was just, way not enough space. But I do think that I probably could get away with a smaller index. So the win is the existence of the index. It works. I like having the reference. The non-win is page numbering because did I actually page number? No, I didn't even page number this. So page numbers are kind of necessary for using an index unless you want to count them out. And if you're going to count them out, you might as well just flip through the notebook and find what you're looking for. But I don't think I need this much space. So too much index. Too much index space. That's probably something that isn't super necessary, right? Calling it a hobby journal is a great idea. Yeah, exactly. Because I was thinking that one of the reasons that I initially changed my reading, quote, quote, reading journal into more of a media journal is that I was finding that apologies, just like pressing on things randomly. I was using my reading journal and reading more because of my reading journal. It was like really incentivizing me to get in and read, and I was really enjoying the process of documenting my reads. But then anytime I wanted to pick up a game or watch a movie or watch a TV show, I'd feel weirdly guilty about spending my time to do that because I couldn't record it in my journal, which is a really interesting place to be. And I'm like, why did you turn this into a chore? Why is that necessary? And it's just because I was enjoying my reading journal so much. I was having so much fun setting things up in here that I wanted to read more so that I could put more in it. It's like, okay, well, how about rather than getting guilty about watching TV because you can't put it in your reading journal, just put it in the journal. So I'm like, a hobby journal might be a fun one too, because I am trying to kind of reconnect with my creativity a bit this month or quarter, I guess. And part of that is, undertaking different types of creativity. So I tried some painting. I've, tried doing book annotating and stuff like that. And I thought it might be nice to capture memories related to those in here as well. So I'm like, okay, well, instead of calling it, even though it's a media journal and I'm calling it a reading journal, maybe it could be a hobby journal. Yeah, or a self-perpetual journal. That's kind of a cute idea. But yeah, so I'm just thinking that maybe it becomes something more like that so that then I don't feel like I have to pigeonhole myself into like, this is your hobby and this is the only thing you do. Which of course, like, you can set up separate journals for different types of hobbies, but I'm like, I'm trying to streamline a little bit, I think, in the upcoming year and get my planner stack or whatnot, or my journal lineup a little bit smaller, because I think that it'll be more manageable, and I feel like it'll just be nicer to have all of those memories captured together in a way. But anywho, decoration-wise, I did quite enjoy the decoration. I enjoy a decorated reading journal. Decoration. But I think that this style of decoration, although easy, doesn't really match the vibe of the journal itself. And that's just because I, repurposed this journal. It was a long-term collections journal. I pulled those pages out and set this up as my reading journal. So it kind of is what it is. And I was using this brown and beige kind of combo because that's something that was quite familiar. So I didn't dislike that. It was comfortable and easy to do, but I don't think it matched the vibes of the journal so well. So I think something I would like to try is start of journal, the SOJ setup, aligned with the journal cover. Can we spell journal? Journal cover. That'd be kind of nice, I think. Yeah. You've been calling yours a reading journal, but totally include live theater. Oh, that's cool. Movie theater trips and even events with friends, like escape rooms. See, that's fun. It's just like your fun. It's your journal. Joy now. It's like journal, but with joy in it. I love journaling. Journaling is my favorite. I mean, I try to do journaling on all of my journals. My journals. Oh my gosh. I'm going to get myself tongue-tied here. So, flipping on over. I love this. I mean, these ones are just printables from my little shop, but I just went and colored in all of the entries before I started filling things in, and then just have been writing the names of the things that I've been consuming into the covers. This is great. I love everything about this. We shall be continuing with this. So, media shelves. That is a fun layout. I think it's just a fun way to capture the information more than anything else. I appreciate having the kind of visual of it, and I like having, the kind of wood texture on all of these, even though it takes forever to draw out the wood texture, because the printable itself is kind of like very simple black line work and such, so that then if you want to color in the shelves a certain color, you can color them in. If you want to add a wood texture, you can add a wood texture. I did consider going and trying to figure out how to draw a wood texture on my computer, but I don't have that kind of skill. So I do like this. I don't love how long it takes me to draw the wood texture in, but I do love the finished product. So, just put something on in the background, put on an audiobook, draw your lines. It's all good. So that's fun. We're going to keep on doing those. For the books read and movies watched, these shelves each have 52 entries. Mainly because my goal for books this year was to read 52 books. It's like kind of on average one per week. I think I'm on track, or maybe either just over or just under. Probably just under by this stage, but I got time. It's cool. It's cool. And then I started populating the movies from the bottom, just because then if I end up reading more books, I can kind of read down and then over. Let's see. I absolutely love the shelves, but I read roughly 400 books a year, so you struggle to find one that will fit a normal A5 spread. Yeah, for that, I would probably end up having to make them go across multiple. I have a printable that has 100, but I don't have one for 400. That's quite a lot. Now, let's see. The next one over, you can kind of see, like, same idea, different structure. This one has less entries on it, only has 25, I would count, but I'm pretty sure it's 25. Mainly because I'm like, I don't play as many games or watch as many TV shows. I also decided to record the TV shows so that then it was done as just like the full thing rather than per season, because if I was going per season, this would get it would be a lot more full. Let's put it that way. Reading, writing, play with color. Ooh, not use your yearly journal as much, so maybe you'll repurpose in 2026. We do love getting to, use things in full where possible. It's a good move for it. So your goal for 2025 is 5 books. Valid. It's all good. And I think that's the nice thing, is like, depending on how you want to approach a reading journal, you could use a shelf structure like this with 25 entries and populate it with multiple types of media if you wanted to. So it's like, oh yeah, I'm aiming to read 5 books watch 5 movies, watch 5 TV shows, play 5 games, and listen to 5 podcasts or something. So 5 by 5, that's 25 things. You put it in the shelves or something like that. They don't have to be books. Given the fact that I'm using mine as not actually books. And I know some people like to go color in the spines based on the piece of media itself. So, for instance, if we go back to the books, maybe if they read, I don't know, the book What If or whatever, they will color that in based on the coloration of the book of What If, or they might color it in based on their rating of the book or what month they finished it in or anything like that. Yes, please do not take my number as something to aim for. I'm disabled and sometimes the only thing I can do is read. Exactly. I think that reading goals are such a personalized thing. And I mean, you mentioned that you're disabled and maybe sometimes the only thing you can do is read. Some people aren't disabled and are still reading that amount. And some people are fully able-bodied or whatnot and read 1 book a year. That used to be me, kind of a thing. So it's all good. Whatever your reading goal is, it is a personalized thing and we are here for it. We are here to support you in your goal. Even if your goal is to glance sideways at a book once a year and just call it a day, it's cool. You do you, boo. We all want to have our own levels of enjoyment with things. And if you find that reading isn't for you, first of all, thank you for watching this video and showing up to the stream if you're here live. That's crazy. I'm so glad to have you here. It's all good. Hopefully you can take some of these ideas and apply them to whatever hobby you have, whether that's media related like this or something else. It's cool. So, games played, TV shows watched, those ones come onto the media shelves, no biggie there. Series tracker. I love my series tracker. I think that it's very, I like the structure of it, right? It is a structure that I find very, it's easy to set up and it's easy to use, and that's what I like about it. So, series tracker, we will keep that. We love that one. Tracker. And also this one being right next to it has been kind of helpful as well, because the series tracker is mainly for TV, like TV show series. But then this one is also, I guess, a series tracker in that it's like a book series. So it's like, this is the book series title. These are all the entries to the series. I kind of like that as well. So book series tracker. And I enjoy the structure. I enjoy having the full name of the book, because sometimes it's like, oh yeah, it's like, Crescent City 2. I'm like, which one is that? Je ne sais pas. She does not know. But let's see. The goal is 5 books, so 5 more than last year, but 100 movies. So it's definitely a multimedia journal for me. Nice. That's awesome. I do enjoy watching movies. I just don't watch as many movies as I think I would like to. My current problem that I've noted is that I really like horror movies based on the story. The story of horror movies I find very interesting. I can't watch horror anymore. I just sit there with my hands over my eyes oh god, what's happening? Is it over? Or I block my ears. So I'm like, you're not really getting the full experience because you don't want to be scared, but you do want to absorb the story of it. So I'm like, maybe I should stop watching horror movies and start reading horror books. I don't know, because books don't usually have jump scares unless there's something in the page and it just pops out at you like a bah or whatever, which I haven't read a pop-up book in a while, so not usually something I have to worry about. You're stealing the book series tracker format for sure. I think it's great for anybody who hasn't seen it before. Essentially, we have the series tracker for the TV, series tracker for books. So for books, this is the series title, these are all the entries, and you just have a little box to color and say, yes, I read the thing. Sometimes I will color it in one color to say this is something you've already read, but you want to acknowledge the fact that you've read it. And then reading it this year, I'll color it in with a darker color. So maybe I do gray for the ones I've read from Lore Olympus, and then any of the ones I read this year, I'll color in black or something. For the TV series tracker, which you could also use the books, you could write down the book series title here and then have all the entries over this side. But over here, this is where the series name goes. And then on the other side, from the right-hand side, you just put in dots to signify how many entries there are to that series. So for instance, Stranger Things, we'll actually fill this in because we're here. Where is a pen? Yes, the pen I was using doesn't count. So Stranger Things, it has 5 seasons, so we have 5 little dots, but those dots are aligned so that season 1 is the rightmost, then it's season 2 on the left of that, season 3 on the left of that, so on and so forth. So we have currently watched, or I guess rewatched, up to the end of season 3. We're almost at the end of season 4, to the extent where we're got like 1 episode left. So I'll be checking that one off soon. It's great. We love it. I find the structure of this very helpful, both these. So they shall be moving forward. Now, we have Goober's Book Club Reads. That is our book club. It's free to join if you want to come join us. It might be linked in the description box, or maybe Jess didn't do a good job. And in that case, yell at me in the comments. But this one here, I like. I like having a kind of summary of the books for the year, but I don't think I need Rebel Reads because I haven't read them. So it feels odd to put a kind of a little shrine for them in my journal, especially at the start of the journal. So Rebel Reads. I do like a GBC book summary, but what I'm kind of thinking is expanding that so I can include more information, because right now they're just tucked down in a corner type deal, which is fine, but you can't include like what my rating was or what the read theme was or anything like that. So I'm kind of thinking maybe I expand it to a spread and then, structure it so that we have cover, blurb, or something in 3 rows. That could work. We're not getting into actual layout planning here, but that's something I'm kind of thinking about. So expanded GBC summary. Will she remember what that means? Maybe. She might get confused, but it's all good. Tink. Thank you for sharing the link, Britta. Much appreciation. So yeah, if you want to come over and be part of the Goobers Who Read Discord community, it's our free reading community. We would love to have you there with us. You don't actually have to join the book club, but that's also where other people who like to read and reading enthusiasts hang out. So we have a reading journal section. We have a space for people to post reading sprints if they're jumping onto a reading sprint and they want to hang out with people. We have what we call the library, which is essentially a spot for you to set up specific chat spaces for particular books. So that one can be very useful when you just want to talk about one book in particular. Like if you read, I don't know, The Song of Achilles and you want to just talk about The Song of Achilles with people, you can set that up in the library. So it's a good time. We love it. And even if you're not super savvy on Discord, it's all good. Most people who join aren't. You will not be alone. People over there are unfailingly helpful. They will point you in the right direction. I said Tink and I haven't had any water. Tink, there we go. Let's have a drink. What are we drinking today? I'm trying to make it so that you don't listen to my mouth noises while I'm drinking. I apologize if I forget to mute when I do that. Ooh, a question. We love a question. Do you recommend the Let Them theory? I don't know, and that's because I haven't read the Rebel Reads, and that's why I'm thinking maybe they don't belong in my journal. I'd be interested to read it. I think that it's an interesting concept possibly, but I haven't read the book, so I wouldn't actually be able to say. But oh, yep, we got water for sure. Orange soda and water. It's always good to double park yourself. I love this. I am also drinking water. I don't know if the question mark was necessary, but I love that. It's all good. I hope it's water for your sake, or at least if it's not water, I hope it's tasty. We have a Diet Pepsi. We got some sparkling water. Ooh, Caribbean Crush lemonade. Fancy. I don't think it says lemonade. It's Lucozade? I don't know. That still sounds fun though. Excellent. So Goober Reads, Rebel Reads, and then I left myself a space for a quarterly kind of review check-in. And the reason that I left it open is because I wasn't too sure how I wanted to structure it, because it kind of depends on, I don't know, what I consume in any quarter, or what information might be important to include. But I know this about myself, and I should remind myself constantly, or at least I do end up reminding myself constantly because I have to relearn this so many times. If I do not pre-structure a page before finishing my setup or whatnot, I will not come back and actually use it. It just won't happen. So quarter 3 is done and dusted. Here's my quarter 3 review. Excellent. Yep. A version for sure. So the quarterly reviews, not in the sense of not, wanting them or anything, because I think that they would be really fun to have. I love a stats page. That's half the reason of why I started setting up a reading journal that had monthly setups in it anyway, so that I could have those stats pages, because they're really fun. but I need this to be pre-structured. So I want to keep it. I'm going to try something to like remedy that aversion, and that is pre-structured. What is it? What did I just say? Quarter review. Because I think that if I pre-structured in like, hey, here's where your little graphs will go, and here are some stats you want to record, and here's a little place to stick in the best of each type of media. So like the best book you read, the best TV show, the best movie, yada yada. If I have that pre-structured in, I know exactly what I need to figure out and print, rather than having to do all of that kind of creative work at the time of doing my end of quarter review. And the end of quarter it's not necessarily always a busy time, but there are other things going on at the end of the quarter. For instance, goal setting or reset week, and getting cool, calm, and collected for the quarter ahead and all of that type of thing. Well, I've got so many reviews that look exactly like your quarter 3 review. I appreciate that I am not alone in that, but I am sad for both of us. Because it's not usually my intention to have it be completely blank, but sometimes that's just what it is. Yeah. But that's, I think, where I left my I left my start of journal pages there. I kept it pretty brief because I wanted to set one up that keeping up with these things wasn't going to be too much of a challenge. And for the most part, I'm doing pretty good. I have filled in most things, I think, outside of the Stranger Things one that we just looked at before, because I don't have heaps that I need to fill in. The only one that maybe I'm kind of behind on would be the Goober Book Club reads and the Rebel reads, and printing off the little covers for those. But that's because when I print these off, I print them on sticker paper, and I want to have pretty much all of the space used up wherever possible. I don't like feeling like I'm wasting space on here. I want it to, like, wasting space on the sticker paper rather. I want to make sure I make up, like, a full page of stickers before I print things off, so that then I don't waste any of that resource, I suppose. I get a little particular about that one. But you can't wait to try out cyclic planning next year. Yay! Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for you. I love cyclic planning. It has been a game changer. But after this, we get into the reading reviews, because I kind of have decided that I don't. What's the word? I love reading challenges. I love readathons, and like, those kind of it's the creativity of it, I think, that I love. I love when people do reading challenges and stuff on like a monthly basis or whatnot, but I started to find that monthly reading challenges just felt like homework. So I pretty much decided that I'm stepping away from monthly reading challenges. We'll put that one in, with one exception. I'll give you 3 guesses as to which one it is. But monthly reading challenges. But I do have a yearly reading challenge that I need to account for in my new setup. So that is the Year of Goober. We love it. Heart. Right? And that's the thing. I had very good intentions about the Year of Goober for this year, but then because I felt like the monthly reading challenges felt like too much homework and such, it meant that I fell off on my yearly one. So I would rather just commit to my yearly reading challenge, the Year of Goober challenge, which is just, 1 book per month, which I can probably do. But I think that having a spot in the front of journal set up for that would be a really good idea, because it's like a nice way to capture that as a memory. Alrighty, question marks. How do you track books which have been read? I want to do something similar with board games where I have stickers for all the games I want to play. Fun. In terms of just like what has been read, I just put that on the media shelves. Like, that's the main kind of, if we're thinking of in the reading journal, the main tracking of like, I have read this, I just wrote the cover on here. I have watched this, I wrote the title on here. I have watched this, I have played this. That's how I kind of do it. And then I also like to put a little kind of memory keeping blurby bit in the back here. So we have Wild Love, which was a book club book. We watched the Fit for TV, like the Biggest Loser documentary miniseries. We watched Unknown Number, that was messed up. That was messed up. I read Woman Code and then gave it 1.5 stars. Like, yeah, this wasn't for me, and kind of wrote some notes about that. But You can see I've set up spaces to put things in, and I kind of have the little covers printed off, but I'm taking a very kind of leisurely pace to doing this. I'm using sometimes my Monday creativity slots to go in and put things in here, but I also, given this style, the style that I use for this, I need to have the covers printed off before I can go and put things in, because typically speaking, I need to know where the cover's gonna sit and what decoration I'm gonna use and all of this type of a thing. So I think that as much as I like this style, it is holding me back from reading, or rather, yeah, maybe. No, it's holding me back from getting into my reading journal and putting blurbs in here. So that's possibly an aversion. We have a very good question here. I love like this question. We're gonna answer this one. How can I do the want analysis if this is my first reading journal? All right. So for your first reading journal, you're probably going to focus less on the wins and aversions and more on the needs and to try. But that doesn't mean you can't kind of predict what a win or an aversion would be. So, for instance, if you've done any kind of journaling before, maybe you know that one of your aversions is pens with long dry times. That's something you don't like. That's something that holds you back from using your journal. You could put that in the aversion. You might know about yourself that you really love the creativity of collaging, but you find that you don't have like what you feel is like the skill set to do that yet. So maybe your aversion is like, the knowledge around collaging or whatnot, but maybe it's a win, like you love the aesthetic of collaging. So you can kind of put those types of things in there. When it comes to wins and aversions in particular, I kind of think about it in three kind of spaces. One of those is about supplies, and you can talk about supplies pretty much regardless of whether you've done a reading journal before or not. So it's like, what kind of supplies do you really love to use in your creativity? What pens, what sticker types, what tapes or anything like that, versus the ones that you don't like to use, and those would go in your aversions. Another one is about the actual kind of like layouts and structures. That one you might have a harder time with because you haven't done a reading journal before, but you can use prior knowledge from any previous reading journal stuff you've done. And then the last one is about like the practice of it or the routines surrounding it. So, for instance, you might know that if you have a layout that is quick to fill in, that is a win for you because you'll actually keep up with it. It'll actually get used or something. Whereas maybe you love a layout or have previously really enjoyed doing journaling or something where you do have to take some more time and be more intentional with it because it feels like a little labor of love for yourself. So if you kind of break it down in those ways of like supplies, wins and aversions, the practice, wins and aversions, and then the layouts, wins and aversions, even if they're not specifically related to a reading journal, but what can you kind of bring from your past experience with this type of a hobby or something about like, paper-based crafts or anything like that and apply it to this new project. But what you're going to mainly be doing, if you haven't done a reading journal, the main sections you're going to think about are your needs and to try. Like, what is the purpose that you're setting up for your journal? What do you foresee as being necessary to include or kind of like problem to solve? That'll go in your needs. And then the to try section is like, okay, well, what can I do to kind of acknowledge those needs or accommodate those needs or something like that? Hopefully that helps. Hopefully that's helpful. Do you include a TBR in your reading journal? I have previously, but I don't anymore because I found it annoying to keep up with. I found that I just wouldn't fill it in. So last time I did this kind of process for myself, one of the aversions I had was having a physical, like, physically written TBR because I wouldn't think to update here when I found a new book to read. When I found a new book that I wanted to read, my first thought was, oh, I'll go and log that on Goodreads. So I would rather just kind of lean into that like natural tendency to record that information there and just record that information there. So that is kind of my like one-stop shop for it. That's the thing with your reading journal or pretty much any journal is just because you can put something in there doesn't mean you have to. Like if you find that you're not going to use some of the common layouts that people use, like if you kind of look at this bookshelf thing, you're like, I'm not gonna use that. I don't want to use that. Lame, whatever. But you see everybody and their cousin on, YouTube or Instagram or whatever, putting one of these kind of bookshelf structures in there, but you don't think it's gonna be your vibe. Don't include it. It's all good. You are your own person. We want you to include things you will use so that this is a fun hobby and you keep doing it. Yay. Anywho, we need more needs. We need the needs. Let's go have a look. So, What kind of printer do you use for printing them off? I printed on normal sticker paper, typically. Normal sticker paper. I know you said normal paper or sticker paper. I printed on a matte white sticker paper. I use Avery sticker paper because that's what's available to me. I know some people use online labels because it's available to them. Online labels is available to me, but hella expensive, so I don't use that. Shipping is killer. But in terms of the printer, I just have an Epson EcoTank. It works fairly well. I used to have an HP. I will not be getting an HP printer again. I love people who love their HP printers. I'm so happy for you. I'm so glad it worked out for you. Every HP printer I have had has been a dud. I think I'm cursed. But other needs. We need it to be easy. And we also said that an aversion was possibly the style of media reviews. Now, for a comparison point, okay, so this is the style of media review that I've mainly been doing this year. I have really enjoyed it for being able to kind of be a bit more creative and get in and decorate as related to the piece of media. So this one was, like all about online catfishing or whatnot. So I'm like, oh yeah, we'll do like some like digital tech kind of looking sticker pieces in here. And in this book, there is a scene with a computer. And so I stuck in a sticker of a computer. This one, it was more so just like a vibe check because I'm like, I don't really have stickers about poor innocent girls getting murdered. So I stuck in some colored pieces that kind of look similar to the style of the cover of the piece of media. Similar idea with this one, like it's kind of whimsical, kind of fantastical and such. So stuck in a little picture like that. And then this one is the Court of Mist and Fury, but like the Night Court edition of the book because that's the one that I got. So I stuck in the cover that looked like the cover I actually have. And then just stuck in some black ink kind of stickers. And I'm going to do some blurbing in here. But this has been a very fun style. I started doing this style in my last reading journal, which was just from like the first half of this year. So it's, not from that long ago or whatnot. But I really loved it. I thought it was a really fun kind of like creativity outlet for myself. And I'd let any piece of media take up the amount of space it kind of needed for the most part, kind of pre-predicting how much space I would need though, because I draw in the border first and then I go layer things over the top. And one of the changes I made between this journal and the one I'm currently using is that I was doing the headers in the same font as the piece of media for this. So Sinners in the Sinners font, like The Love Hypothesis in the Love Hypothesis font. The movies, it wasn't so bad because you can usually find a PNG of them, not a problem. The book covers, much more difficult, especially for any kind of like fantasy related ones. Like sometimes I just found a font that kind of looked similar and called it a day. But if we go and find like one of them in particular, I know was a mission. Let's say like City of Mirth and Malice. That one I had to like take the cover into Photoshop, invert the coloration so that I could turn the text black so I could actually print the text, and then go and erase everything around the text. And it took me 5 ever. It took such a long time. And as much as I loved it, like the look of it is very cool. It added so much admin to the process of getting in here and doing things that I would start to avoid getting in here and doing things. And that kind of defeats the purpose of having the journal, because if you're not going to use the journal, then why have the journal? Caraval was the one I was looking for. This took forever. Like, I love it. Looks really cute. But it did take me a hot second. So, hot minute, hot second. Many of those actually. It took quite a while. So I loved it. I loved the creativity aspect of it, but that was something that was making the process take too long for me, so I pulled that out. But a style that I used before this in my last reading journal, that one was a lot more approachable. That one was something that I could do pretty much regardless of when or where I was, because I didn't have to have the cover already printed, and I didn't have to have specific decoration for any of the pieces of media, because the style was just really easy. So pretty much every piece of media got the same amount of space. It got a third of a page. If it was a book, it had the core pile rating system, and then a little star rating, and then the blurb. If it was a movie, it just had the blurb and the star rating. And if it had a TV show, sometimes I put a star rating, but eventually I got to a point where I'm like, I'm not going to rate my TV shows, it's too hard. So I kind of just like stopped doing that. I haven't appreciate that you enjoyed 5 ever. It's more than forever. But this style was really good for just making the process easy. But because I was recording as many pieces of media as I was, like, let's have a little flick through this. Okay, so we're not going to look at the start of journal stuff. This was my fantasy map that I drew. It's also available in the little shop. It took 5 ever, but this was like a fun 5 ever. This was so much fun to draw. But anywho, go find the actual blurbs. And the fact that this is just like lightly trying to fall apart on me, let's ignore that as well. So all of these, yeah, we're in the same style. We've got, core pile for all of them, all ratings. These are all books because I hadn't started including TV shows and other media yet because I wanted this to be a reading journal. And the idea was that it was going to last year upon year because there was no way I was going to use a full journal for a full year. It was going to be too much. But eventually I got to the point where I'm like, okay, I'm not reading, or rather, I am reading, but then not incentivized to go and do other things. And I want to do other things as well. So I started putting games in here. And so just the blurb and the star rating and TV shows and all of that. But when you do this exact same style for the entire of a journal, as much as I love the consistency of it, because there is something kind of nice about that, it just got really boring. Got really boring. And I think the fact that the entire journal was in browns and beiges also kind of made me a little bored. Like, it made for easy decoration because I knew exactly what I was going to use. I used the same materials every single time. I used the same tapes, the same pens, all of that. And then we chuck in when I started getting into doing some monthly reading challenges and such, which was just, a fun way to break it up. And that's probably why I was getting into them, because I'm like, oh, it just adds some interest, because otherwise it's just more of the same. And then we get into magical readathon. So we had pages for the magical readathon and such, but that's neither here nor there. This easy but boring. So I need to find a kind of happy medium, I guess, between easy but boring. You're 100% buying that map from the little shop because you love it. I'm glad you love it. And it's one of those things. It's a one-time purchase. You print it off as many times as you want, stick it into every reading journal for the rest of forever. But all of the places on here are related to reading stuff. So just ignore Steve. Steve is technically not related to reading stuff, but we love Steve. So we've got like the Slow Burn Crater, and we've got Hardcover Bluff, and the Spoiler, which is just like a mimic mountain type thing. The Towers of Duology. We have Plot Hole Swamp. We have the TBR Forest, Bookstagram Peaks, Bonehenge, one of my personal favorites. Steve is iconic. Yeah, Steve is great. Of course, if you have any kind of I don't know, editing software or whatever, and you don't really want Steve there, first of all, you're a monster. Leave Steve there. But you could just get rid of Steve. But I do love Steve. And we have like the OTP, like, I will go down with this ship, your one true pairing or whatnot. This was fun. Okay. This is the thing that we kind of mentioned at the start, the non-decorated inside cover. And that's because my first reading journal had a very decorated inside cover. I stuck a label, like white label stickers, over the nameplate part that says, this book belongs to, and then drew all of this. But this was, I think that's the thing about my reading journal, is that my reading journal is a place for me to be creative and to not feel like it has to be for content purposes. And I found that my reading journal for this year got to a point where it was more for content purposes than it was for my own personal enjoyment. And that's why I kind of stopped doing the monthly reading journal setup videos and such, because it was just like, oh, no, it feels too formulaic now. I don't love it anymore. But you know what we do love? Haha, Tink. Hydration is important. Like, why did I forget to add this to my cart yesterday? For what it's worth. And there are no shipping fees because everything is digital. Like, that helps. Let's see, Bonehenge. This is just another reason you watch, because it's funny. I'm glad you enjoy my dumb humor. So, other needs, like we said, easy. I would like a style of media review. So we're going to put media reviews in. Media. Can she spell media? She can try. Media review that is easy, fun, It doesn't need the covers to be printed off first. Doesn't need pre-printed covers. And this is coming back to that idea that I like to really utilize the full space on my sticker sheet before I print it, because otherwise I feel wasteful. Then I get sad about things, and I don't want it to be sad. I want this to be journaling, joyful. All right. So I did write myself a note the other day about something to do with my reading journal, so I just want to make sure that I've got that in there too. Media shelves, I enjoyed that they were pre-colored, mainly because visual interest, and I don't feel compelled to, color things in based on star rating or anything like that. I've got that information saved in the reviews. I don't really need to do that again. Let's see. I like my reading goals, like we said. I liked having a book club summary page. Non-pre-structured quarterly review pages was an aversion, like we wrote down. If you're wondering, I'm just reading off a little Notion page that I wrote for myself. I'll show you what I did. So, where are we? Where are you? And I'm so sorry. We'll just put that one there. Hopefully it comes up for you. So I'm just kind of like, I wrote myself a couple notes before we got here, just so that then things are a little bit more streamlined. So I'm just making sure that I've checked all of them off. So decorative start, yes. Simple index, yes. Media shelves, yes. Reading goals and a book club summary page, yes. Aversions, non-pre-structured quarterly review pages. Yep, we've already written that down. Rebel reads, I haven't read them, so why give them space here? Exactly. Not being able to put in the blurbs before the covers are printed because of the decoration. Exactly. And the cohesivity of reflection spaces. I don't remember what I meant by that. Nope, I still don't remember. I think it was just the fact that it probably didn't feel very cohesive. Oh, okay. This is my media reviews. I get what I mean now. I understand. Because I'm like, do you mean your like quarterly review? No, she means her like, little media blurbs kind of thing. So, cohesivity of media reviews. And that's not to say that they all have to look exactly the same, because otherwise it does get a little bit boring. But I do like having some uniformity, but uniformity in such a way that it doesn't get stale, It needs to be like flexible uniformity, which feels like a misnomer. What's the thing? Juxtaposition. She understands words. But I think that, yeah, so media reviews, cohesive but flexible. So it's that idea that things do take up the amount of space that they need to, because sometimes you have a lot to say, and sometimes you want to have, a lot of space to write things down, whereas other things you want to say, yes, this was a book, and I read it, and that's pretty much where you want to leave it, because you don't have anything positive to say about it, maybe, or something like that. But let's see, where else were we? I can't remember which one of these views is the one we were using. Might have been this. Gosh, I'm so small. My tiny little hand. Anyways, so it needs to be simple and it needs to be fun. Maybe feels like more of a hobby journal. So memory keeping and enjoyment of media consumed and other pursuits. As said, the to try things were 2 criteria rating system, like a 2-way rating scale. Set the quarterly review spaces up in advance. Simplify the review spaces. So bring back a version that's similar to Reading Journal 1. Ooh. And then make collages of just my favorites. So like maybe that's a way forward. Maybe we make the kind of review blurb spots all really kind of samey, but then for things that I really love and I want to kind of, just live in the world and the memory of that book or that movie or whatever just a little bit longer, maybe I make a specific collage page just for that one. Because, for example, bring this one up back. One of the things that I started off doing for this one was, again, where are you? So like Arcane, I had a full spread and I took little screenshots from the TV show and I stuck those in. Similar idea to Arcane season 1, but I found some, I don't remember if this was fan art or if it was like a kind of like a cover image for the actual show, like from the producers or whatnot. But I stuck those ones in, kind of just, collaging and whatnot. So the actual blurbing space that I had to write was smaller, but it was just a lot of kind of living in the memories of it a little more, getting to celebrate the characters or whatnot. and then maybe just like a little character pictures or whatever. So I have enjoyed that and I have really liked it. But for some books, I'm just like, I don't feel the need to do that at all. Make time. It's a nonfiction book. I'm not really living in the world or the characters of the nonfiction book that is Make Time. Same idea with Mickey 17. I'm like, yeah, we'll just like stick in a piece of the moon or whatever and a little bit of tape or whatnot and write my little blurb out. But it wasn't the kind of thing that I felt like I needed ample amounts of space so that I could, stick in all of these different pictures or whatever and stuff. Yeah, my reviews for myself on some DNFs are just like, dude, nope, never again, because what even the heck was that? Fair, very valid. So, having a look at this one, just because I did set this one up at the start of a year. So, as we kind of mentioned before, I don't feel the need to color in the bookshelf based on the month that I read the book. I was doing that in this one, kind of so I could see how many I read in each month. So, I started at the top. So, that's January, February, March was purple. Very much April. Oh dear. April was this kind of yellow color, and then we get to the month of the Goober Readathon. Yes, we love it. The monthly reading challenge that I shall actually be doing, and that one's just like blah, 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 blah. Excellent, love it. Have you ever skipped a book? Skipped in the terms of like just decided I wasn't going to reading it. When I think about skipped a book, I think about it in terms of a series. It's like, you know what? I'm just not going to read book 2. In that case, no. But have I ever started a book and stopped reading it? Definitely. Yes. It is not my kind of party to I just don't want to read a book that is soul sucking. Like for the most part, I will slog through it if I am like far enough through. But if I get to like 20% of the way in, I'm just like, I'll just stop. I don't DNF a lot, but I also don't start a lot of books that I don't know enough about that I think I might not enjoy it. That was a badly worded sentence, but hopefully you understand what I mean. I get into books because they have usually been recommended to me by someone who knows me well enough to only recommend me things that I'll probably enjoy. That's the most part of it. I wish I could bring myself to DNF a book. Yeah, I think that some people it's like not just it doesn't compute in their brain. They're like, no, if I started, I'm gonna finish it. I'm a serial non-finisher, so for me, it's like, sure, why not? That being said, I still don't DNF all that much, but I'm trying to get back into reading. Is a reading journal a good way to get started? I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that, mainly because I only got into reading journaling because I got into reading. That was kind of my progression. I started my reading journey. It was like, read a lot as a kid, didn't read for many, many moons. And then my friend was like, hey, well, let's start a book club. That's pretty much how it went down. And then the internet was like, hey, we want to join the book club. I'm like, okay, this is a thing now. And now we have a book club. But even up until the point of like starting the book club and at least 1 year in, I still didn't really consider myself to be a reader, quote, quote, a reader. So the year of our first year of the book club, I read 13 books that year, with at least most of those being from the book club because it's one per month. And it wasn't until I had gotten to the end of the next year where I read like 20 something books that I'm like, you know what, I'm going to start a reading journal because I want to capture those memories. But for some people, I think that having a reading journal can incentivize the reading a little more. So, that kind of like cumulative causation, you enjoy the reading journal process and setting things up. So you want to read more so that you have more to put into the reading journal so that you can do that enjoyable hobby. So then you read more so that you can put more into the reading journal. So like that can be a kind of cycle that helps some people. And that was definitely what happened for me once I started, but I only personally got started because I was reading enough to feel like it was warranted. But I mean, if you want to start a reading journal just because you want another creative outlet, go forth. You read one book a year, you have your shelf of one book and you fill the other rest of it with plants and stuff. It's all good. So you can see the index. I only got to entry, like 3.5 because I started counting out my pages and realized I didn't have enough space on here to log everything that was in my start of journal setup. So I stopped. I'm like, yeah, okay, that doesn't work. So, oh well. Had my goals in here though, all goods, my rating system, all goods. I loved the decoration of this one. This was so much fun to like just live in, I guess. The actual setup of it was a bloody slog, but I do love the way it kind of came out at the end. The finished product of this felt good. And I think that's because it feels a little bit like dark magical kind of thing, and that's kind of what the cover of the journal was. It's like, that kind of like dark spell book type of a thing, which I really loved, and I did very much enjoy that the theme that I used kind of matched the cover, or they felt like they were friends. They were friends together. So I'm kind of tempted to do something similar to that for my next one. Similar in the sense that I want it to match the theme of the journal. But I enjoyed the font, and I enjoyed the kind of like the differences in the decoration of each layout, because that's the thing with the collaging, is that sometimes the layouts can end up looking quite samey, even though they're technically not the same, because you are using the same kind of collaging materials throughout the same thing. And if you're sticking into a very set palette of like browns and beiges, which is fine, because we love browns and beiges, go for the beige bow, hell yeah. But it can end up looking a little bit like there's not a lot of novelty between the pages. Whereas this one, having the kind of your arch design versus the one with these little cap corner type things versus the ones with the boxes, but they all look like they kind of match together. That is something I loved. I very much enjoyed this setup because of that. You like having a world map as a tracker so that you can, like link it to the different places and such. I do. I think that an around the world challenge is a fun idea. I don't think I read either enough from authors from different countries or books actually set in the real world sufficiently to be able to like really make use of that. But little corner ones here. I had this like little rope style thing because that's something I enjoy drawing every so often. But this was a lot of fun to do, and I do love having a fully decked out start of reading journal setup. I think there's a lot of fun with that, but I also found that a lot of these year-long challenges, especially year-long challenges where you preset what you're going to watch or read or whatnot, it's a no from me. Like, have I actually watched any else of these ones? No, I'm pretty sure I've only watched these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I started watching The Perfect Couple and it was just boring. I'm sure it gets better, but where I got to is just boring. So I watched 5, and then in terms of reading, I don't think I've read any additional to these. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then technically a DNF, but I mean, technically, deciding I'm not going to finish it is finishing it. But yeah, it's definitely rebel brain kicking in, saying like, you can't tell me what to do. I don't care for your TBR. That's probably in part why I don't include a TBR in my journal, because it's like, oh look, homework, ew. But I loved this setup. I would like to do something not necessarily the same as it, but something that's equally kind of decorative but functional. So it's like, the decoration's very much corner centralized over here, like this is where it's going to sit, and then the rest of the page is open to do stuff with. This is a decorative title, that type of a thing. I like that. But I'm going to go grab another journal because I want to show it to you, because that's the one that I think is the kind of style that I might go with for the reading journal that I have here. Are those checkbox stickers? Yes, I made myself a sheet of checkbox stickers. They are pretty much the only journal sticker that I have made for myself using my Cricut. It took me a lot of time to do it because my Cricut and my computer and just everything was having beef with each other, and I have not made anything since, but I was proud of myself for that project. But alrighty, let's go grab a couple things. Grab this one, and we will grab that one. There we go. And then we will grab a drink because hydration is important. Tink. There we go. Hey. There we go. Yeah, much nicer to self to call it the rebel brain. Yeah, rebel brain is a term that I quite enjoy. So this journal here, you may have seen previously. So dark, so mysterious. This one is my yearly collections journal, which recently I accidentally dropped on its head and it's split all the way up the side. Now, this journal is kind of old. I've been using it since 2022, I believe. 2022? Yeah, 2022. This one being for yearly collections. So any kind of, start a journal setup, usually you have trackers and logs and all of that type of a thing that sometimes we set up for an entire calendar year, but because I would use a journal for usually typically 6 months or less, setting up a whole bunch of yearly trackers or year-long trackers in a journal that's only going to last you 6 months is just giving future you homework. And I'm not really about giving future me homework. It's not usually my personal preference, even though I'm pretty sure one of my most commonly said phrases is, huh, that's a future me problem. But anyway, in the attempt to give future Jess less work to do, she would set up her yearly trackers in here rather than her everyday journal so that she didn't have to transfer them and transfer all the data at the middle of the year. That was the thinking. So that's neither here nor there, though, because that's not the point. Each year got a different theme. So 2024 had this kind of like, grid and floral type deal. 2023 had this like magic wheel type deal. I love this theme so much. And then 2022 was also a grid and floral type thing, but I was using vellum florals, so it was a little bit different. And this is why I absolutely love the PET ones, because they just work better for it. But anyway, the one we're actually wanting to look at, though, is the one from this year. And that's because this year's one was kind of like fantasy-esque inspired. And I was thinking maybe I would do something like this for my reading journal, because this I feel like fits the vibe. The vines fit the vibe, or at least I think they do, right? I thought that having kind of like the simple brown border to make it kind of like, wooden, or maybe like a stick. I'm thinking branches, right? So we have the branches and then we have the vines kind of like climbing up or growing over the branches or around the branches. I thought that would be kind of cute, maybe. But yeah, the way that Erin Smith looks at a TBR, yeah, is like a maybe next, or that kind of a thing can be very helpful for a TBR as well. But so I was thinking possibly this kind of style, maybe not necessarily the exact same in terms of the titling. I would probably go with my printed on vellum kind of sticker paper rather than printing it on matte sticker paper. But I love the palette. I think that the brown, the pink, and the green together is really nice. And I thought that this kind of decorative style matched this journal quite well. The only thing that I would possibly want to change is that a lot of the layouts in here use the full border. And I liked the fact that in this journal, we had some variation between the different layouts. Like, some of them had the archway, some of them had just the corner kind of style decoration or something like that. So I'd probably want to do something similar to that, or something that kind of works in that realm. But I thought this was kind of fun. So you can see like we have like a top panel here, and then this is on a Dutch door. So this would be great if you have like a really long TBR, or if you have a very long list of things that you have read. You just put the title on once, you chop off the top of the middle page, and then ta-da, same title, 2 spreads. Love that for us. Nice and easy. And then this one here being the Mastery Builder, aka 25 things to do 25 times across the year. This one had a whole bunch of Dutch doors, and I didn't want to go and put in the same header repeatedly. I just had to put it in once. So I think having this kind of like top section versus the full border around the outside, like that's one possible layout, but I'd need to find some other ones. Okay, I guess we have the full spread, we have a full page, and then we have just the title. But I probably would want more than just that. So maybe. I like the styling of it though. But that being said, I was really sold on this being my reading journal. I thought that this was going to be the one that I was going to use, because I thought that, it's really gorgeous. It's really nice. And then I placed an order for a journal, and the wrong one arrived. But the wrong one that arrived is kind of gorgeous. So I'm like, maybe this is my reading journal instead. I don't know. It is pretty lovely. And it's got like some spine design, of course, which we need to look at both of them together. There we go. Got some spine design on that one, some spine design on this one type thing. So they're both very, very pretty. They're going to look great on the shelf when they're done. And then on the back cover, this one also still has that kind of like gold Look at that. Gorgeous. So this one's from the Quirky Cut Collective, which they have recently had a kind of very like dark, fantastical kind of release, which I think was called like Serpents and Swords or something. So the journal I actually ordered was from Serpents and Swords, but this is the one that arrived. They said like, oh my god, we're so sorry, like this doesn't happen usually. International return shipping is a total bummer, so you can just keep this one as well. I'm like, oh, okay, thank you. So now I have this journal that I wasn't expecting to have, but I'm just like, ooh. But yeah, that's the thing, right? They have super different vibes. So do we go with this? Now, it does have the decorated inside card, which is kind of fun, which I wouldn't have to do a lot to, but I could do some collaging in here. And then we have that, piece that's usually stuck to itself. And then we get into the doc grid, and the first doc grid page is a double doc grid page. I would be inclined to round off all of these corners, which I have a corner rounder, so no harm, no foul. But the page dimensions are also bigger. So I would have to consider what I'm going to do with the additional real estate. I think it's 14 centimeters across and 20 centimeters down. So that's a full extra centimeter in either direction, which is kind of like, it gives you some buffer, more room to play, which is exciting. The pages are also cream toned, which I'm not necessarily opposed to cream tone or cream colored paper. But then with printing on the vellum is like slightly white tinted when you lay it down on the page. So maybe that would work better in here. But also this is gorgeous. So je ne sais pas. I feel like the black has to be a reading journal, whereas the green could potentially be something else. It feels very reading journal, right? And this isn't the first Quirky Cup Collective journal I've received, or like gotten, I suppose, because I've bought all of the ones that I have myself, except for this one that just randomly showed up. But that one, I didn't love the notebook, but they have changed this since then, and I like this one a lot more, like internally. The one that I did get, which is also gorgeous. I'll go get it so we can look at it, right? Because we might as well have an actual proper snoop of these things. So the one that I got, and this was the one that I was thinking like, oh, this is going to be my reading journal. Like I ordered this thinking this was going to be my first reading journal because it was just so beautiful. I'm like, look at that. Look at the gold foiling. It's like hard to appreciate how beautiful this cover is. And again, it has the spine design, so you can see there on the edge. And then on the back we have, which I thought was quite interesting, the back of the journal is where it says the magic starts here. I'm like, but this is the end. But still, so beautiful. The pointy corners are such an immediate no for you that you can't recommend it. Hey, that's also the thing, right? I'm so used to rounded corners. Soft, gentle, cozy hobby, aggressive, reading, raw. I don't know. But so this was the journal that I was going to have as my reading journal, which is beautiful. But I found that the internal stuff of this I just didn't love, mainly because the dots were massive. I'm just like, who decided that that was the right way to go? I mean, in terms of like, visibility and stuff, if you have some kind of like visual impairment that means that a regular kind of like smaller dot grid is harder for you to see, this is great. For someone who doesn't have that issue though, this is aggressive. But in the new one, that dot is a much nicer, smaller, less obvious kind of dot. But like, I know, right? You can see those dots from Ohio. I know, right? So that's why I didn't end up using this one, but I do still love it. That's why I kept it, because I just thought that the artistry of the design is beautiful. Even though the sharp corners are trying to do murder, I do think that this one is beautiful, but it just lives on my shelf looking gorgeous and decorative. It's so pretty. Wow. So this one is actually one of the biggest disappointments in journals I've ever had, only because I feel like I can't use it because the dot grid is just like too big. But it's still a very pretty addition. But this one though doesn't have that issue. What this one does have though is 220 pages, which feels like a lot. That being said, this one had 160 and I used pretty much all of it up before we got to the end of the year. But I was also doing monthly pages. This one, I believe, has 192. So we have 192, which is already a decent chunk, versus 220. We have sharp corners, at least that could be rounded on the paper, so not really a problem, versus rounded corners. We have bright white paper versus cream color paper, which I'm not opposed to cream color paper. It is quite, it's nice on the eyes. And because I don't do a lot of kind of like drawing and coloring in anymore, it doesn't really bother me as much. I don't know. I think I'm leaning towards this one. Just trust in my first decision. But then, whoop, whoop. Just put that one away. The green one does feel so cozy, and I think that that's the thing that like I want to bring more of that kind of like cozy vibes feeling into my life and that kind of like gentleness with myself. And I think that the aggressive corners are a metaphor for aggression. It's not a long stretch for that, right? But this one is beautiful. I will probably find something else to use it for, but I was kind of tempted, so I wanted to show you. So we will trust in the cozy vibes. We'll trust in the cozy feelings, and I think we will go with that kind of like twisted vine. I don't know, decorative element or whatever, because I think that one was fun. Now, that's all good and well, but as said, we also want to look through some of the other reading journal ideas just to make sure there's nothing else that I want to include. You're late to the party? It's all good. That's fine. That's fine. You're allowed to be late to the party. The party's still happening. Or it could be like, the party don't start till you walk in type of a deal. So this guy here, as said, this is my R&D journal, or one of many R&D journals I have. So this is just where I would make layouts for videos on the channel. And one of the videos we have on the channel, which if you haven't checked it out, totally worth checking it out because it goes into more depth than we're going to do here. And that is 100 reading journal ideas, or roughly 100 that you can put in your journal. Of course, you don't have to do everything. You do not have to do every single reading journal idea that we have in this, and there are probably more out there. So this is not necessarily the be-all and end-all of reading journal ideas, but I think it is the longest list on the good YouTubes, possibly. So this is just a list of ideas, so that's exciting. Rating scale breakdown, we've already got that one accounted for. Core pile, I don't do core pile anymore, so I don't really need that, but I do want my 2-scale rating system. These are just a list of different genres that you read from. Could be turned into a checklist if you want to. I don't feel the need to include that either. We have book-related acronyms and terms for people who are just getting into the reading journal community and they cannot remember what BOTM is. I'm like, why are you talking about bottoms? I don't understand it. No, book of the month, right? I constantly forget some of these. Which one's the ones that I constantly forget? There's one in particular where anytime I see it, I have to go look it up because I just cannot remember what it means. And that's also probably why I'm having a hard time bringing it to mind right now. But anywho, trigger warnings to avoid that are okay, or it kind of depends. Your sizing references for your reading journal. I don't probably need that because I'll just like flip back and look at one of the other ones. What's the 2-scale rating system? I haven't decided on how I want to set it up just yet, but what I'm thinking is that one side of the rating scale is just going to be enjoyment, and the other side of the rating scale is going to be like the quality of writing or something. So I'm not giving a 5-star to a book that's actually written like trash and riddled with issues just because I enjoyed it, which is fine to do as well. That's how I've typically done my ratings this year, but I would like to be a little bit more clinical about it. So I don't think I'm going to need any things, one of these QR codes. I don't think I'm going to need any QR codes, but technically you can include those in your reading journal if you want to. I don't think I'm going to need any of these ones, which is book stats track, recipe for a good reading day, how to read more, those kind of things. Yeah, screams Hobbiton. Exactly. Hobbit vibes, all right? Next year is going to be the year of the Hobbit. That's what we're going with. Reading review questions. Might be helpful to have, probably won't include them here. I might include them more in like my Notion space or something. TBR, as said, I do that on Goodreads rather than in my journal. TBR by type. Nope, don't need any of those. No TBRing. This is, book lucky dip. So you kind of write things on little cards and you put them in and be like, oh, I'm going to read The Cruel Prince. Or I'm going to read, I lost that one. Yep, Serpent and Dove. No idea what that book is, but put those back in there. We've got the series tracker, already talked about that. Reading the catalog or the backlog of a certain author, don't need that. Don't need a reading order list. We've got the bookshelves, already talked about those ones. Reading your backlist, book to screen. I have had this previously, but I don't feel the need to do that anymore. Let's see. Question. Seeing you use a 5-star stamp in your journal for ratings, where did you get that? I have a couple 5-star rating stamps, I think, but the one in particular that I have mainly used has been the one from Tori Craft and Create, I think. I have a link for it somewhere. Let's go have a snoop. Because did I use it in here? Yeah, maybe. This stamp set is the one that has the ratings, I'm pretty sure. And that one has a like them empty and then filled in and like gradually filled in, I'm pretty sure. So I typically just use the outline one more than anything, and then I go and color them in myself because I'm that way inclined. Let's see. Stamp. Reading genre, reading rating. There we go. We'll copy that across. Hopefully that link works. Let me know if it gives you any issues. But arcs, I don't do arcs. We're all good. What to read next? I love the idea of the flowchart. I don't think I need the flowchart. Reading prompts, non-fiction topics to explore. I like this, but I think I'll keep that in my second brain instead. Books bought. I don't buy a lot of books, so I don't really need that. Book wish list. That's probably something that I don't really need. It's more so like, things to check out type of a deal. Books on hold. That one isn't for me because I don't keep a lot of physical books. How much did the library save me? I love the idea of this. I don't think I need it. Tori Ramos here on YouTube. Yes, she is. Tori Ramos does more stamping than I do and has actually made her own stamp sets. So that is the person that I got mine from. She's a good egg. Let's see. We've got our reading master list, bookshelfie, authors I've read, my favorite authors. We've got covers of my reads. And of course, I had to go and find ones that fit into a rainbow because I am that way inclined. The DNF graveyard. Don't feel like I need that because I'm not going to give them space in my reading journal. This kind of reading review could be kind of cute if we do it as like a little cover, the little author like details or whatnot, and then just a space for blurbing, maybe, possibly. Obviously, I didn't actually want to go and write in any reviews for these, so I just used a script tape because I was feeling slack. Aw, how exciting! It's all like highlighted in green. Yay! Always glad to have you with us. I also love how it doesn't tell me if you're just like new in the sense that you re-signed up or if you're new. So either way, yay! But it's sold out. Gosh dang it. Yeah, well, I'm glad that the link at least worked, but at least it worked for somebody. Okay, the link is having beef, but it seems to be sold out right now. This one I love. So this one is read ratings, and you have like a little cart, and you write your book titles on a little separate piece of paper, and then you just slot them into the cart to be like, yes, this is a 5-star read. It can go up here in the 5-star, and then maybe if you decide, actually, I talked about it with my book club, and now I hate it, so we're putting that down in the 3-star. The number of times that we get to book club and I end up having to re-rate the book because I'm like, now I've talked about it with people. I either like it more or like it less, but it's pretty cute. Alrighty, quotes that hit, don't need that, but I still like the idea of it. Most of these, it's the kind of thing that I like the idea of the layout, but I don't feel the need to include the layout for myself because if I start to include too many things, it means that I have to... There's just like more to keep up with, or like have to keep up with. Yay! We have money as well. Yay! Thank you for being here. Thank you for being with us. We love that. Alrighty. Book boyfriends. This one was literally just for Rachel because Rachel likes that kind of stuff. Book clubs. Back in the day when it was called the Bujo Buddies Book Club, but now it's called Goober's Book Club because we're just like consolidating everything under the header of Goober because Goober is our mascot. Book club reads, book club meeting notes, don't need anything of those. Reading goals, we've already kind of talked about, so that's good. The little bookshelf, we love that. Let's see. I don't think any of these ones I feel very compelled to include. Like, I know some people love to have a year in pixels to say like, oh yes, I read this day, or no, I didn't. And then also mark in when they did finish a book, or like, just read versus read and finished something. Like, I love the idea of the data. I love the tracking of it. It's just not something that I find necessary, so I'm not going to include that. What else do we have? Reading challenges, monthly TBR. Don't feel the need for those. Monthly reading challenge pages. Little bookmark. Put that one out because I'll just put it back later. So I've kind of stopped doing monthly reading pages because I just don't feel like I need it. It doesn't feel necessary to include those ones in there because I can't be relied on to read consistently throughout the year. So some months it's like, hey, you read one book. Here's a really boring pie graph. Which I mean, like, it is realistic. It is what it is, but it doesn't look very fun. Ray's reading. Yay! Glad to have you with us as well. Oh, this is so exciting. I don't know if it comes up the same on your end as it does mine, but on my end it like highlights it in green and it's like gives it a little star and it's very special. So that's always very exciting. It means you get a little ghosty as well. We love a little ghosty. So I love a stats page. I love a month in review. I'm going to be doing mine quarterly. They're not going to look like this, but I do like the idea of having like the favorite, the least favorite, maybe longest and shortest or something like that, or the favorites across each of the, what do we call it? Like the different types of media or something. So maybe not giving, like holding space for my least favorite stuff, but the things that I want to celebrate and whatnot, we can do that. You love the book group name. Yay. Yeah. Goober is a good time. I think that, I mean, because I think most places a goober is somebody or something that is like a little bit gross. Like, or you use it to be like, stop being such a goober means like stop being gross kind of a thing. But it's usually said in a very endearing and loving way. So you might call a kid a goober. Whereas other places, like when you search it, it's like a peanut or something. I'm like, it fits the vibe. Little peanut ghost. So A to Z challenge, Goodreads challenge, reading bingo. I have done reading bingo and A to Z previously, but it's just not something that I like if I was actively trying to fill it in, maybe, but most of the time I just kind of read whatever I read and then see if it fits after the fact. Um, Going back to the quotes pages, I have a notes app and keep a note of all of my favorite quotes in there. That's nice until you have enough to fill a page and then you do a full spread. That's kind of cool. That's a good way to go about it. I have previously included a quotes page in my reading journal and filled in like all of 3 lines or something like that. So it's probably a better way to go about it. Trope challenge, reading throughout the ages. So these are all just kind of like, year-long or reading journal-long challenges that you can include if you wanted to, like read the rainbow. But the one reading challenge, 1 year-long reading challenge that I will be doing, it will be a year of goober because I'm the host. So it's kind of like if you don't do your own reading challenge, like, I mean, I'm sure there are people out there who set up reading challenges and don't actually do it themselves. But anyways, something I will never be including is a book bracket because I hate it. Like, okay, I don't actually have that much beef with it. I think that like the visual of the layout is really cool, but I just don't think it's worth the effort for the information you get out of it. Because at the end of the day, all you get out of this kind of layout is number 1. Like nothing else is actually, you don't get number 2 because you don't, because this one hasn't gone up against everything. What if number 2 was actually A Court of Wings and Ruin, but because they went head to head in the very first stage of the challenge, it meant that it got knocked out too early. This is, I mean, I love Make Time, so, take this with a grain of salt, but this layout is not, it doesn't give me enough to warrant the actual kind of like effort to put in the layout, in my personal opinion, even though it looks cool. Anyways, what I much prefer is the ranking matrix. Yay! And that's because in the ranking matrix, everything goes to head, everything gets its chance to shine, which means that things come out in a different order, all right? So things don't get knocked out here. We have separate videos on the channel that talk about the ranking matrix. It is my personal preference when it comes to doing any kind of rating of things because everything does get to go up against everything else. But anyway, love you. I'll see you later. Might include you, but if I do include it, I'll set it up at the end of the journal. It's all good. Where are the star stickers? Do I have star stickers? Me? I don't think I have star stickers in here unless I do and I'm just like completely confused. Most of the time I draw my stars in rather than sticking stars in, honestly, because it's quicker. Because it's quicker, and at least I know that then I can sit them in the box properly. Is this a planning the reading journal video or is it setting up the 2026 reading journal also? The setup is going to take me 27 years, so we're really just planning it here. And currently we're just going through these layouts to see if there's anything else I want to include because we've started to write out my general thoughts about the reading journal. But diversity reads tracker, reading wrapped, yada yada, reading related memories. I do like the idea of increased memory keeping in there, so that's probably something to note down. So we're just going to say non-media memory keeping, because I would like to have some memory keeping pages that have our reading retreats or whatnot. So my friends and I, we do kind of quarterly. It's not like on a set schedule or anything, but we have reading retreats where we all get together. We deck out the couch, make it all cozy and such. We have our little snackle plates and whatever, and then we just do reading together for pretty much the entire day. Usually from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. we do that. It's really, really fun. So maybe having something more in here. One day you may persuade me to trade the book bracket for the Matrix, but not today. It's all good. I'm not going to make you. If you want to put the effort into making that layout and just come out with the piece of information that is your top book of the year, more power to you. She is saying this with so much snark. That's the thing. I love the visual of it. I think it looks cool as heck. I just don't think that, for me, personally, personal opinion, I'd rather just do this, because then I get like a definitive ranking of all of these books rather than just what is the top one. I drew a little crown on it. I thought that was kind of cute. Anywho, yeah, every time I do a reading date, I just never shut up. Yeah, we have started wearing our headphones so that we don't bother each other. Here we though have secret reads. So this is a little flip up for secret stuff that you don't want to show other people. So maybe it's because these are all your spicy books and you're like, no, the internet doesn't need to see that, or whatever. But anywho, flipping on over, reading related collages, which I kind of like the idea of. So maybe, and it's can you tell that I don't collage? It's because I didn't actually put anything in here, but it was just an idea. And then the reading map. And then we get into other journaling ideas, because this is not just for reading journal ideas. Right, scoot this one to the side. Goodbye, good sir. Thank you for being here. You were very helpful. Now, once you have done your want analysis, once you've gone through and pulled out all of the information about the things that worked, the things that didn't work, the stuff that you are thinking you might need, and the stuff you might do to, acknowledge those needs and aversions or whatnot, and just, stuff that you might be curious about, then we actually need to apply the findings. Now, what would have been super, super smart is if somebody put this page across from a blank page, but she didn't. So we're going to have to flip to another page, another one, and use that instead. I'm I could pull this out. I'm not going to pull it out, but should I at least take a photo of it? I'm going to take a photo of it. I'm going to pull it out. I'm going to pull out a page. Please excuse. There we go. Because it's just a lot easier to work alongside this type of stuff. Because once you've got all of these ideas written out, then you need to actually apply the findings. It's all good and well to spend time, effort, energy doing your want analysis. If you don't use the data, then this was just us fluffing around for the last hour and a half, which is cool. I love fluffing around with you. It's a great time, but I want this reading journal to be the best reading journal that ever reading journaled, even though it's not even a reading journal anymore. It's really a hobby journal. It's totally fine. It's all good. Don't even worry about it. I want that for me. I want it for you. So let's apply the findings. According to this, we have, pages. So these are things that you'll actually set up, or layouts to include. And then we're going to have other. So this is other stuff to be mindful of. So that could be decorative styles or habits and routines to build or whatever. Because remember, when you're going through wins and aversions in particular, we're thinking about supplies and the layouts or structures and the practice around it, right? All those things. The best of the best reading journals. Exactly. That's what we're aiming for. We don't have super high expectations or anything. We're not asking too much because we can do the thing. Rah, rah, fight the power. So things to note. I want a rating reference, and I want it to be the two-way rating scale. So, rating reference, which is the two-way scale. Right, we've written that into our page list, so we can cross that off as having been acknowledged or dealt with. Yeah? We want to have a page that is the media goals. I'm going to write media/hobby goals, because the idea is that we're going to turn this into a hobby journal. Goals, she can't spell. It's okay. She knows what she means. This is the scribble book, or at least it was. This is the scribble page. It's fine. You like the idea of a Hall of Fame? That is cool. That is a nice one, eh? Other things to note, that this is now a hobby journal. the hobby journal that we're just going to keep calling the reading journal, and then people are going to get pissy when I set up a reading journal video and they're like, it's not even just for reading. Why did you lie to us? Why did you set up a clickbait title? I'm like, calm down. There are books. It exists. You'll be okay. Have a little joy. This is my journaling. Jeez. Right, so hobby slash reading journal. Because she can remember what she was writing. There we go. All good. So that's all good. We want media slash hobby goals, so we can put that one out. We want to have an index, but as noted, we probably don't need as much space for it. So maybe it is just a 1-page index, because I don't go and index all of my review spaces. I just index, like, the big rocks, the heavy hitters, the stuff at like the start of the journal mainly. You're thinking of awarding superlatives, superlatives? She can read this year, like high school yearbook. That would be cool. I like the idea of that one, because I think that one of the ones we had in here was the idea of like a personalized. Oh, there it is again, mocking me. Anyways, moving on. It's fine. Yeah, book awards. So it's like the most relatable character, the best sidekick, favorite found family, the worst book, wah wah. A book where you like laughed out loud, most anticipated read, the saddest death. Da, 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 da. Like your strangest book or whatever. It would be really cool to get like a decent list of the like possible superlatives. Is it superlatives or superlatives? And I mean, maybe it's both, but I don't know. One of them sounds more correct than the other one, but the other one also feels more super. So, anywho. So the index just being 1 page, we will do that. And the too much space in the index we've taken care of by making it just 1 page. Also, did I ever turn the autofocus off again? Okay, we're good. We're okay, because I'm like, if otherwise when I write, usually what happens is it focuses on the end of the pen and it's just like, that's not fun to watch. Nobody wants that. So index being 1 page, too much space in the index, taken care of. Something that we have not taken care of is the idea of page numbers. So this one isn't necessarily a page to set up. It is just something to also do. So that's why it goes into the other category of being number your damn pages. Number the pages. And that might mean that I aim for a decorative style that allows me to see those page numbers, because a lot of the previous setups I've done in my journals, they've had tape in the corner, which means that you don't really see it. Say it the first way. Superlatives. Nice. Let me know. Okay, this is the question of the day, right? What is a word that you have only ever read, so you don't necessarily know how to say out loud? Or maybe a word that you have previously, like, back in your past or something, you had only ever seen it written, so you didn't necessarily know how it was pronounced out loud. And maybe that got you into a situation where you said something and people looked at you like, huh? What? Vogel's one for that was facade. He had only ever seen it written in Pokemon, so he called it facade. And we're like, what the heck is facade? Like, what are you talking about? Yeah, you said crotchet the first time as crochet. Nice, crotchet. Yeah, you didn't know how to say Hermione. Very good, very fair. Epitome. Yep. Epitome. For me, and this is gonna be so dumb, I read probed as probed. I'm like, yeah, I guess I am probed. Like, no, probed. What, quinoa? Yeah. Epitome, nice. Colonel, yeah, colonel is not a good one either. Like colonel, because that one doesn't even look like what even is that? Colonel, ridiculous. This is the thing. So many redundant letters, I swear. But anyway, I'm very much enjoying this. Oh, bonsoir. Like, yeah, probed. Exactly. I am probed. Biopic, right? Okay, so I read it as biopic. And I've read it as biopic for a long time. And Vogel's like, you mean a biopic? I'm like, what? No. Like, what even is that? Oh, okay. This one I don't think I even. Nope. I don't think I would be able to do that one. Oh yeah, marquee is another one, definitely, vehemently. I at least for the majority of these, I feel like I do actually know how to pronounce them now, but sometimes I just intentionally pronounce them wrong, like calling scissors skizzers. Like sometimes I just like to be silly like that, but it's definitely I'm part of the problem. I am making it so that people don't know how to pronounce words, like magenta. Like bouillabaisse. Bouillabaisse. Okay. In the middle of a speech class in 8th grade. Yeah, pretty much. It's a food. Yeah, I thought it was a food. I'm like, it looks familiar, but I don't think I've ever said that out loud. But all right. So page numbers, numbering the pages. That is what we're going to do. That is the application of the thought. We are going to ignore the rebel read thing. So maybe as something like as an additional thing we can have on here is a not doing or like not including. Yeah. So that would be a space for the rebel reads. I don't need it. So we can put that in here. And then that just means that I know I've like accounted for that thought in my want analysis and I can cross it off. Right? Because that's the idea. I want to go through all of these and make sure that I have acknowledged them, accounted for them, done something with that information, even if it is just saying, hey, don't set this up. Like, that's fine. Yeah, when you say paring something down, when you say pairing, pair with stare, paring or pairing, that one's interesting because I feel like I've heard it both, but I've probably heard it said both ways because I say it both ways and then get confused at myself. Worcester sauce, because it's like Worcester, but then it says Shire on the end, but then you like don't pronounce the Shire. So I'm like, why is it there? What is the purpose? Yeah. Paring and pairing might be a dialectal. Jeez, her reading is she's having a hard time here. Yeah. So I do wonder like how many of these are like actually us reading something wrong or like pronouncing it wrong versus you just say it differently in different places. I'm trying to think of any word that is slightly different based on where you're from. Because even aluminium versus aluminum, like they're actually spelt differently in different countries. So that's like not even a good example. But yeah, I love it when people say wash. It's Worcester. But really? Is it what? Stupid word. That sauce can go. Goodbye. Like, I don't even. Is that a place? Is that why it's called that? No, it's a no from me. Ah, dear. See, this is why I don't talk when I cook because otherwise I make a fool of myself. But so things that I do like are pre-set up quarterly pages. So we're going to put in the quarterly review and we're going to note that we are going to have it fully scaffolded. We're not going to have a blank page because a blank page is a neglected page. So we can put that in as having been acknowledged. So that one was put in here and pre-structured quarterly review. We've got that in the try section. So that's all good. Decoration. We want to have it. So we're just going to put that in the other decoration. That is fun, flexible, and easy. And that idea of the flexibility is kind of what I had in the black journal from before. So it's like you can kind of do it a little bit different, right? It doesn't have to just be like a border on a page or whatnot. So decoration, that's all good. Let's see. The media shelves. We love the media shelves. We will continue with those. Media shelves. We're going to have them pre-colored because I love it. So that's a note, not a bullet point. And then a bullet point can be for the different ones. We're going to have books, movies, TV shows, and games. And I mean, I call it TV shows, but technically speaking, I'm including Critical Role in there because, well, first of all, I'm watching it. And secondly, I just think like, oh, it's a series. Like, it counts. Yeah, I say it crown, not crayon. Oh yeah, crown. Yeah, but that's the thing, right? It's like a crayon versus a crown, or however you're saying it. I'm butchering it. I apologize. It's the same word and it's written the same way, but we just pronounce it differently based on personal placement in the world. I always find it quite entertaining when people, it doesn't happen often, but sometimes people will comment on my videos being like, you spelled that wrong. And I'm like, okay, yeah, most of the time I do spell things wrong, as noted by most of the things I've written down here today. But sometimes it's because I've used an S instead of a Z. And it's like, well, no, in my corner of the world, that's how you spell organization. Thank you for trying to point out my incorrectness, but no, I am right where I'm based. All good. Yeah, you think Critical Role counts? I think Critical Role counts. So that's why I put it in the TV shows kind of section. But with that one here, we're going to put the series tracker because we like that. Series tracker. And we're going to do it for TV shows and books. And while I do kind of like doing it for movies as well, there are no movie series that I feel like so compelled to actually watch the full series within a set amount of time that it's like necessary to put them in my journal, right? I have previously, but nowadays not so much. But series tracker and the books tracker, and then the GBC book summary. GBC book summary. And as we talked about it before, we are going to make that a kind of like expanded or like full spread, just so that I can have a little bit more information, like rating, read theme, etc. There we go. Done. Easy mode. Yeah, that looks pretty cute. So we've got to cross that one off. So the wins, we've dealt with those wins, but we still have other sections that we want to note down as well. And some of these are going to be just like applications, and some of them are going to be actual pages. So one of these being the non-decorated inside cover. That one is going to be an other. It's just going to be decorate your inside cover. Decorate nameplate. That's the main one, because I think it's a bit of fun. And I also like to decorate it in the same style that I'm using. Yeah, a wolf, a wolf, woof, a whiff, a whiff. I don't think I've ever heard that one. Oh yeah, a scone versus a scone. And sometimes I will say scone just because it annoys my mother. Same with yogurt. I'll call it yogurt, even though like I would otherwise pronounce it yogurt, just because mum doesn't like it when I call it yogurt. Like, you say a scone, not a scone. Yeah. Well, I guess yeah, like when my favorite time to call a scone is when I've eaten it. I'm like, oh no, scone, like it's gone. Terrible. Don't care. Love it. Okay, can I tell you a fun story? This is a complete aside, but we were messaging back and forth in the chat for our family chat the other day, because we're planning trips overseas and whatever. And my mum sent through a cafe that's in Melbourne. Like we don't even have plans to go to Melbourne, but she sent through a thing about a cafe in Melbourne that's Star Wars themed, and they have like Star Wars cookies and stuff. And she's like, oh yeah, this one's for the boys, because my dad, my brother, and my partner Vogel, they all like Star Wars. And then my dad, he wrote a message back saying, I don't know, looks a little chewy - dad joke. And I'm like, you didn't have to call it out as a dad joke, Dad. It's all good. We all got it. But it was like really cute. I was very amused. But anyway, so moving on, more reversions. So monthly reading challenges, we are not including those. So we're not doing monthly reading challenges, with one exception being the Goober Readathon. That's so bad. You laughed out loud, literally. I love it. I'm glad you liked it. So monthly reading challenge. ENGE. Beautiful. Except for Goober. Because again, it's lame when you don't do your own reading challenge. And I like, I give myself permission to change my mind on that. It's all good. But oh, you totally don't understand grey versus grey. I don't know, because I pronounce EY as A, because if I'm saying like hey, so in my mind, grey, like it makes sense. But shrug. For like an EY grey, because that's how you spell it where I'm based. But then also, like, you have different types of hey as well. You have like a hey, like hello, and you have a hey like a om nom nom. I'm thinking of a horse. Like, I'm not eating hay. I'm not out here eating dried grass, just if you were wondering. That's not my usual personal preference when it comes to food. But monthly reading challenge, except for Goober, all good. We'll put that over here. So style of media reviews and the cohesivity of the media reviews, those were both aversions. So I need to find a new media review style that balances those things. So this is like a side task because it's not going to be part of my startup journal setup. It's not something I really have to like worry about. The overnight hay in next week's vlog. Oh my gosh, it would be so chewy. But in like the worst way. Yeah, I love soaked grass. How delicious is that? Why did you bring me the food that food eats? But anyways, so media reviews. Media review style. Right, I need it to be easy, fun, doesn't need the printables to already be printed, that kind of thing. And we're adding this as an other or an aside rather than a page to make because this is just the starter journal setup. So it needs to be easy, fun, flexible, and then doesn't need cover pre-printed. And I'm wondering, do I want to make them super decorative? Because like as much as I have enjoyed the decoration of them, I think I have preferred the cohesivity. Maybe I just need to because I'm like, you could do it like by month or something. It's like, oh hey, like all of your January ones have this kind of like styling or coloration, and all of your December. No, I'm like that feels like too much. And then I'm like, okay, well you could do it by quarter, but then will you go too long doing exactly the same style and get annoyed with it? I don't know. I'll figure it out later. That's a future me problem. All right. As much as we don't like giving homework to our future selves, sometimes we have to. So we love it to be easy, fun, flexible, doesn't need pre-printed things, and cohesive, but not boring. Cohesive, but not boring. All right. So we have accounted for these points, all good. And then I also need to have something for the year of Goober. That is a need. So, year of Goober. Goober, little goobs. So cute, so cute. I also kind of loved doing the 52 book club challenge. Not in the sense of actually actively trying to read for those prompts, but I did actually enjoy having it there. So 52 book club challenge. Mainly just to see of what I read, like what was relevant to the prompts. If you're like, what is she talking about? That one is one that I set up in here. Point. This one here. So it's like a bunch of different prompts. There are 52 prompts. I was intending on reading 52 books. So I'm like, this feels like it could kind of work. So we just kind of have each of the prompts in here. I'd color it in once I read something that related to it and write in the title for that book, but I didn't actively set out to do any of them in particular. But I found it fun. I enjoyed it. Like a found family trope. I've definitely read a book with a found family trope this year, but I stopped using this as soon as I stopped reading the journal. So I'm very much hoping that this one, having more pages in it and with not doing the monthly setups and stuff, will last me the full year. Let's just put that out into the world. Let's like knock on wood that it happens. Fingers crossed, but we'll have to wait and see. But we'll put this one to the side. Putting that back over here. All right, 52 book club challenge. Sure. Easy. We've already kind of baked that in. So it's like make filling in easy. So even if the initial setup does use multiple materials and stuff like that, we do like to have to, we do like to be able to put those away later. We like to be able to set those aside and not have to get them out every single time we read and then use our reading journal and all of that. So I make it so that I'm mainly filling things in with just a black pen as the year goes through. That is my personal preference. Alrighty. Are those 52 prompts available somewhere? Yes. That was helpful, wasn't it? No, okay. If you Google search 52 book club, it'll probably come up through that because it is like a set reading challenge from somebody else. Going to bed. All good. Thank you for being here while you could be. always appreciated. But you've just settled on your media journal system, mainly fantasy and Asian. Mainly, I can't read because things jump around. My apologies. Mainly fantasy and Asian dramas. Nice. Planning to review every, say, 5 episodes or chapters and color code the month that it was consumed. I love that. That's a great system. That's fun. Quebec is their own little corner of Canada. I'd like to go to Canada. I know you guys are having like a little Canada side chat at the moment, but Bogle and I very much would like to go to Canada at some point. We're just trying to decide the best season to go and also when we're going to go because, like, time, money, that kind of thing. But so the starter journal setup aligned with the journal cover. So we're going to make it Hobbit themed. I know it's not actually going to be Hobbit themed, but Hobbit themed setup. It's more so the kind of like vibes of it more than anything else. It's not actually going to be like, oh look, it's the round door and here's Hobbiton and like all of that kind of thing. But non-media memory keeping. That one's going to be one that I add after the fact. It's not going to be like related to these kind of pages. I'm like, I don't know, maybe do I want like a year at a glance, like a maybe monthly little snapshot or summary? I'm going to put that as a maybe. Maybe. Cyclic media snapshots. Question mark. I'm not sure because, okay, if I can link it all to being cycly and quarterly and stuff like that, I probably will have a better time of it. So I'm going to put down like quarterly question mark because that would be fun too. Quarterly, because then I don't have to do it quite as often. But yeah, maybe something like that could be kind of helpful. But then the non-media memory keeping is going to be like hobby memory keeping. Yeah. And I kind of like the idea of making it more chronological in the reading journal as it's set up at the moment. It's not super chronological because sometimes I like to take up a full page with something and sometimes I'll only take up a half page. But if I made all of my reviews very samey, then I could get everything to be chronological. So, je ne sais pas. Undecided. But we have an official page list. This is not the sequenced page list, though, because that is also something that is kind of necessary when it comes to these things. Otherwise, I don't know. I get very particular about my pages being ordered in such a way that makes sense for my brain. So I like to think about it in terms of mainly importance and width of use. So importance is just like the important stuff goes at the front. So it's kind of, that prime real estate of the very start of the journal. That is taken up with the things that make the most sense for it to be there. And then width of use is kind of like how niche is the information stored on this page. So that could be like, in a regular everyday journal type thing, the first thing that you'd put like quite close to the front or whatever would be something like a future log or a year at a glance or something, because it has the biggest like width of use. It has some, like, spans a long time. It might capture information from multiple life areas, that type of a thing. Because we're in a reading journal, it's a little bit different. If I had like, I don't know, a running media list of all of the media I've consumed, then maybe that would be something I'd put directly up the front because it has a long time frame in terms of how long I'm using it for, and the type of information in there is quite wide because it's multiple types of media or something like that. But I kind of like the sequence that I've got in my current journal, so I'll probably go with something similar. So having my ratings and media goals I put in here first because I had this big page. So I'm thinking I'll probably put media goals and ratings after the index for the next one because I'll have the index on that first doc grid page. So that would be, if we open it up. Thank you very much. So this would be the index. Then this would be media goals and rating system. And then after that, what goes next? I'm thinking that the next thing I would have would be my media shelves, because that's where I capture, all the data about like what has been read. Wondering if you could have a media year in pixels. Oh, you definitely could. You could have it based on when you consumed media versus when you didn't. You could note down the type of media you consumed. Some people have year in pixels that are related to the amount, especially if they're just doing it for reading or something. So maybe it's like the number of pages or the length of time you read for or the like minutes of an audiobook you listen to or something. So yeah, the Baggins, Bujo. Baggins. But I love that. I love the idea of having it index first because I actually have the full first dockered page, and the other one I didn't because I ripped a whole bunch of pages out. Well, I didn't rip anything. I carefully, precisely cut them out. But this is looking pretty good. Now we just need to figure out the actual layout of the pages. Do we want to look at the layout of the pages together? I mean, we're not going to make any kind of like 100% formal kind of decisions about this. I have full availability to change my mind if I want to, but we could have a snoop about planning the pages if we wanted to. Just need to make some space on my desk so I can plan them out. Layout time. Alrighty, I have one vote for layout time, and I'm gonna take it because that's how we roll in the Shire. So we're gonna need a layout planner so that we can see what it is we're doing. We're gonna go with that one. All right. Did you end up showing us the green journal with the green journal with the green bag? Wait, what? Did you mean this one? This one was the R&D journal, if that's the one you're talking about. Or do you mean the notepad that came when my green bag came? Because that one is just like a notepad. It's just like a lined notepad. But all right, let's go have snoop. There's a bag for Baggins, the Baggins bag. Are we just going to call the journal Baggins? Is that what the journal's name is now? I kind of love that. This is Baggins. Oh, the green reading journal with the green bag. Yeah. That one was a cover, just for the sake of completeness, because now we've bought it up. I'm going to go get it. Meow, meow. For anybody who hasn't seen it, this is something that I got the other day, and we need to zoom out a little bit so you can see it. I really hope the camera doesn't have a conniption like it did that one time. So this guy, it's got a belly band with a clasp, so you just unclasp it. But it's actually just a cover for a notepad. It's a nice cover though, and you can like slide this out the side and get a new notepad or whatnot. This paper's actually quite good, so I really should keep it more on my desk, but I think it's pretty cute. I love the color of it. I think I'm like just really into green at the moment. There we go. That was loud. I apologize, but it's pretty cute. It's got a little... And this is kind of what I was thinking, right? Like maybe not quite as decorative leafy type thing, but I do kind of like it. It's pretty cute. I'll put that away. Anyways. So in planning the layouts, when it comes to planning layouts, I am much more the type to plan digitally than I am in the notebook, because if I plan in the notebook, I have to like sketch it out, erase it, re-sketch it out, re-erase it, yada yada. And every time you do that, you run the risk of transferring oils from your hands to your notebook, which if you're using water-based pens can have problems. Like you try and put a line of color down, and now you've got like a fingerprint in the middle of it because the ink doesn't go there. It's, water-based ink on an oily surface, blah. And I'm not saying that like my hands are profusely oily or anything, but skin oils exist. It happens. And I just don't want to like have that in my notebook. I'd rather plan in a digital space so that then I can just have that kind of like map for myself. And I can usually get a better appreciation. Alrighty, what about stamps to do the vines? If I had stamps that were vines, yes. So we're going to put this one here so that we can see our reference as we go through, and we're going to plan out our layouts, which means I need to roll over here. Apologies if you can hear the cracking of my floor mat. I think I'm going to have to, well, there's no think. I know I need to get a new one, but I think it's going to be one of those like New Year, I don't know, presents to myself because it's awful. Journal Baggins. So we're going to go and have a look at the planner. And where's the sharing button so you can see what I see? There we go. Looking good? Almost? There we go. Dee. So this one here, this is the journal planning spread or whatever, spreadsheet essentially. And if you are part of the team with a capital T, It's over here, team with a capital T. Then you have access to this if you are in tier 2 or higher. It's in our premium resource library. If you do not want to be a channel member, it's cool. I get it. We're all entitled to our choices. This one is also available in the little shop. So you can buy it as like a one-time purchase and then you just have it there as a template for yourself. So this is the digital file that I use every time I want to plan my layouts. Essentially, all you have to do is you go in, you merge boxes, you put down color or whatever, so that then you can see what your layouts might actually look like. So in the case of our first layout, this is going to be where my index is. I like to label the tabs along the bottom as I go through, just so that then I know what each layout is, I guess. So for the index page, I am not going to need that one. Good point about the tink. I need a drink. Tink. Alrighty. Oh, that's a good idea, eh? And did not pass collection. I probably won't have one just because I don't DNF that much, but that is a perfect addition. If I was the type to use the DNF page, I definitely would. So when it comes to this one, I'm going to want to make it kind of decorative. So we're going to have the borders of the page in that leaf design, or like with the brown wooden kind of thing. And I've got like a brown here. It's like a dark orange, so that kind of looks like what it looks like. I just want to make sure that I'm getting the spacing of this right, because I think when I did it in my, just for reference, I'm looking in this guy. I think I did it so it was the outer dot grid, maybe. Yeah, okay, so this one, it doesn't take up the full width of the dot grid box, but it does sit in there. And then I did use at least one more kind of column or row as buffer. And then I kind of started putting things in and around that. So the very outer section here doesn't get used. The next one gets used for the decoration to sit in, and then after that is where I started putting in any line work. So yeah, 1, 2, 3 up, 1, 2, 3 up on here. That's good. So just so then I know what my kind of usable space is for this. I'll put that one to the side. Now we're gonna leave it here because we're gonna reference it again. We're gonna reference it again. And just so that we can see like this kind of layout, because it actually has a full border around the outside of this page. So that meant that for each of the highlighted lines, they had a 1 centimeter gap on either side. That works nicely. And then we can just highlight that and drag it the whole way up so that we can see what all of our highlighted lines are kind of going to look like. All right, looking pretty good. So for the titling, I don't know what size of title I want, but typically speaking, I usually do about 2 centimeters for a title. So I think that that's a pretty safe bet for myself. We're going to merge that box so that then I can put the title in there, and I will just title it with like index or something, or reading journal or hobby journal or whatever. In terms of lettering style though, I probably still have the one that I used for this guy, this one, but I don't remember what it was called. We can go look it up. I usually try and include, nowadays, I usually try and include what the font is in the description box of the video. So I can go look up the description box for the setup that I have here and figure it out that way. Or we could just do a different font, like Big Shrug. This is one of my favorite, Cinzel Decorative. It's a really nice font. You can get some really nice flourishes with that. But what were you called? Where are you? And I could just find a new one, of course. I don't have to pick it now. We've got this kind of dungeon font. Well, that's like the name of the font is called Dungeon. It looks a little bit, we're kind of looking for like lightly Celtic. Celtic? Question mark? You know what I mean. It's all good. But I do like to set the fonts that are on this layout to the same one that I'm going to be using, mainly so that then I have a more kind of like accurate representation of what the layout is actually going to look like, and I can see how the lettering is going to fit when I put it into my layouts. Alrighty. Mystic, not Mystic. That's not the right lettering style at all. All right, we're going to also go and have a snoop at lettering styles. Let's see if we can go and find a lettering style we like. Ta-da! All right, hello, 1001 fonts. So this is my favorite font website. This is one that I go to quite often, mainly because you can search it by a bunch of different types and whatnot. So if we scroll to the bottom, show font categories, there we go. We have the font categories at the top that give us the different styles and whatnot. So you can go for like, the general ones of like serif, sans serif, all of that type of thing. Or you can go for like attitude or handwriting or whatever. And you just press on whichever one kind of like fits the general vibe you're going for and go with whatever is possibly available to you in that, which is nice. All right, what do we have? Because I don't mind an Old English or a medieval or that type of a thing, an Art Nouveau type deal. I'm just curious about what Art Nouveau looks like. I'm not very good at remembering the ooh, pretty with the flourishes. She's not going to use it, but she likes it. The nice part about this website in particular, though, is that you can save them to your favorites list. You can like sign up for a free account, and then you have all your favorites fonts just sitting there, which I kind of appreciate. But if you do the search function at the top, though, what happens is that instead of searching for types of fonts, typically it searches it for that word. So it's like if we did like Elven or whatever it was that we said before, like it has to have that somewhere in like either the description or the name of the font, and then you don't necessarily get exactly what you need. If another way to do this is just going to Google and going like Elven fonts and then seeing what comes up there. So typically in the images, I'll go through and look like at this kind of stuff, see what it has in here, or like what kind of options we have for it. What is the website called? The one we were just on before is called 1001 fonts, so 1001fonts.com. Ooh, Hobbiton Brush Hand. Alrighty, I can go have a look at Hobbiton Brush Hand. Hobbiton Brush Hand. Was that a font that I already had, or is that like a separate font on the font? Oh, that one's pretty cute, eh? Alright, it is very Lord of the Rings, isn't it? Yeah. So this is another font website that I sometimes use, defont.com. So we could also use this one as well. That's kind of a cool kind of style as well. Or you prefer Nouveau to Deco. Nice. Isn't that the idea of like one of them looks elven, the other one looks dwarven? I don't remember which one is which. But so once I've done this though, like once I find my font, which I'm probably just gonna like skedoodle that as like a future Jess project, because she's gonna look through a lot of fonts to find what she's looking for. And I know that there's something in here somewhere, but I just can't remember what it was called. So big shrug. For now though, we're just gonna leave it as that. That's okay. It can be our placeholder font. It's all good. There we go. Deco is dwarven. Good to know. For the index, I don't really need to do very much in terms of the initial setup outside of this. I'll probably add the little bulleted list points that I had down the side here. Make sure that we color them in right. And I could add a circle in. Maybe I'm just going to go and color them in slightly darker for this one so that I can acknowledge the fact that that's where I'm going to use my dot marker. So this is kind of going to be the setup of the index. If I wanted to, I could make it a little narrower and get a little bit more wispy on the line work, which I might actually do. So we're just going to move that in and just fill that one in with just blank. We'll just fill that one in with blank. Similar idea with that one. We'll just fill that one in with blank. Good-o. And then that means that I can add a little bit more kind of with the vine work around the sides. I can be a little bit more undulating and make it kind of a bit more dramatic or take up a bit more space. So similar idea probably with this last one. We just need to make sure that we have enough entries to the index that we're still going to be satisfied that we have enough space in here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Probably sufficient. Just in case, though, we're going to write down the page orders and the stuff that I'm going to be putting in here. So the first layout that we were going to include is probably going to be my hobby goals, because that has a bigger like width of use for me personally, because it's like, goal related, and so it's a bit more important and feels bigger. And then the next one would be like rating system. And then after the rating system, we had probably the media shelves. So that'll be my books read, movies watched, watches, because she can type. It's all good. It's just the map. TV shows watched, games played, and they can all take up a layout to themselves. Easy. Ghost Bum, there's an excellent font name. That is kind of fun. In terms of after the media shelves, then we have the series tracker and the book series tracker, which I might be able to include as like an individual entry to that. I don't have to have it separate if I run out of space, but for now it's looking okay. And then after the book series, we have the Gooba Book Club summary, the Year of Gooba, and the 52 Book Club challenge. So those ones are all kind of like related to my reading goals. Ordering of those. Year of Gooba feels fairly important. The book club feels like more important though. So we're going to put book club, then Gooba. So Gooba's book club, Year of Gooba, and then the 52 book club, which means that I want to have my quarter 1 review, quarter 2, and quarter 3, and then maybe quarter 4 as well. If I'm going to do that, then the series tracker and the book series tracker, I would combine to just say series trackers, and then they're all on the same spread. So we're just series trackers. And this is the nice part about mapping it up first, like because it's an index and because I know that my index I'm going to populate mainly with just the start of journal stuff, then maybe I need to map out exactly how much space everything is going to take. I do not do this for every single page in my journal. I'm not out here like pre-planning my daily log sections to be like, I don't know if my daily checklist is going to fit on this part of the page. Like, no, that's not what I'm doing. But because it is a layout where I just want it to capture this very specific set of information and I want to make sure I've got enough space for that, I'm okay with doing that in here. So I think that this should be fine, even if I just say like quarterly summaries, and then I have 3 more entries to add other stuff later in the journal, because maybe at the end of the year I want to do some kind of like end of year journal. Do we do a Gooba Groove when he slides into the vlogs? You are more than welcome to. I'd be interested to see what that would actually look like. But the index is looking cute. I'm okay with this, which means that we're on to the next spread, which according to the index is going to be my goals and my rating system. The goals and ratings. We can map out the other ones as well, like movies watched, TV shows. Books and movies, and then TV and games, because that's what it was next. Movies, TV shows, games, cute. And then series tracker is just one full spread by itself. Series tracker. Yeah, shoulder bopping and restrained jazz hands. Love it. I like that they're restrained. Civilized dance. So Gooba's book club is going to take up a full spread. So that one will go next. Gooba's book club BC. And then at this point, I need more space because this is the last page that I have, or the last spread that I have that's empty. After this, I have ones that are dedicated to book splits, just so I know how much space my book covers will take up. And that's more of a kind of like personal helper kind of thing. So we can just add some more, just holding down like the control button and dragging it to the side so that then I can add an additional page in. And we have as many as we need, which I love. It's very, very helpful. Yeah, don't want to hit people on the dance floor. Exactly. We want it to be very, like, civil. This is civil dance. So, what do we say? It was Gooba's Book Club, Year of Gooba, the 52 Book Club, 52 Book Club, which I kind of like the layout that I used for the 52 Book Club last time, so I'll probably do a similar thing. And then quarterly reviews, those ones will probably be a full page and they will look exactly the same. So I don't need to set up 2 separate layouts for that because it'll just look the same as the first one. Like I can set up the full first one in duplicate if I really feel the need to have another one, but I probably don't. I'll just use the map again. It's so interesting to see you use Excel. You most exclusively use Sheets. I appreciate that some people like Sheets. I find Sheets difficult, but then again, I've also been using Excel for like many, many moons. So I'm just a lot more familiar with this one. But we are goals and ratings. I'm kind of thinking that maybe for goals and ratings, it would be good to have like a separate box. I'm not sure. I kind of like the idea of having what I had similar to the one that I've got currently. If we go creak back over here. And this is the nice part about a collage style, is that you just put some backing kind of paper on it and then you just stick stuff over the top. Because the actual goals, like I don't have that many goals, and then the ratings probably don't have that many ratings, or like it's not going to take up a whole heap of space. It's nice to have something as a really good space filler. So I'm like, do I need to have them on a full spread, or could I just condense it to one page? But if I'm going to condense it to one page, what else am I going to put there? So this is something that I kind of need to think about, and how many goals I want to have. Because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I had 10 this time around, which if we go with the kind of layout style that we had, I do kind of like the character summary style, though. I could do something similar to this and have these be the goals, and then have something in here. I don't know. I actually do quite like this layout. But that one is a very small header. That one only takes up 1 centimeter, and most of the time I try to take up a full 2 centimeters or 1.5 for these kind of structures, I suppose. I always forget which one I was using. So if we're going with 2 centimeters, and if we're going with a full, hits the microphone, very aggressive. Apologies, friendos. So if we're going with a full page border here, which I think I probably would. Yeah, your rating's going to be bigger anyway since you're using the dual system. Probably not, because the way that the dual system actually works is fairly condensed. For the sake of, showing you guys roughly what this is, the dual system is essentially going to be kind of like this, where you have a grid with this is, I'm just going to make the text in here a little bigger so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. So that'd be 5-star, 4-star, 3-star, and then 2-star and 1-star. And so along one side, you have one type of rating that you're doing. So maybe this could be enjoyment. So it's like, loved this, it was good, and okay, I guess, or something like that. Like there's some kind of like scaling to your enjoyment here. We'll zoom in so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. And then the other side will be about the actual kind of like quality of the piece of media. So it's like the writing was great, it was okay, bad. So if it's a bad, like just a badly written book or whatever, then maybe I loved it, but it was badly written, I'd give it 3 stars. Or if it's like, oh, I loved it and the writing was pretty okay, then it was 4 stars type of a thing. So that would be the kind of system. Yeah. But it does not take up that much space on the page. So I'm like, do I just combine this with my goals section? I'm not going to actually use this structure, but you kind of get the idea. Like if we shove this down here, and then up the top have my goals. So it's like, okay, we'll have a little header in here for ratings. Ratings. It says ratchings. You get the idea. And then up the top have the spaces for the individual goals. Maybe make it so it's 2 separate boxes or something like that. We could go with something like it is. But I'm not certain about it. I'm not sold on it just yet. But that could be something that we go with. Could be that kind of style. Shall we refrain from naming those I'm not angry, just disappointed books? I mean, like, sometimes we are just angry and disappointed, and then they get like an unsmiley face. We'll just be like wah, this book sucked. I hated this book. Put an emoji in for it. You could do them with emojis instead of star ratings as well if you wanted to. So that's really my next port of call, is to go through and actually fully map the pages out. But even just having a starting point, crack, 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 says the floor mat, of what I'm going to include and how I want to kind of like be mindful about the inclusion of these things is a really comfortable place to be. So in summary, want analysis first. This is where we collect all of our thoughts and feels so that then we can actually apply the information. Once you've done this, thought about the wins, the aversions, the needs, and to try, you then want to pull out that information in terms of, okay, what pages am I going to include? What am I distinctly not going to include? And then what are some kind of like other thoughts that I maybe want to be mindful of as I go through? Once you have your page list, you put it in an order, and then you start to map out how you actually want them to look. That's where I'm at. I need to keep mapping things out. I need to probably and do a whole bunch of chopping and changing and whatnot before I'm really set and sold on an order. But thank you for hanging out with me. Hopefully, you found this helpful. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up. I will catch you in our next live stream. No idea what the topic is, but I'm sure it's going to be good because you'll be there, I hope. Anywho, bye for now.